Ugh.
Who can even make a villain this bad? Anime's a problem.
Zodd is a smash for me.
No!
People love when we're in pain. Love when we're in pain. El Cyclone, day of the eclipse. What's up, people? Hello.
Why are we in a leather jacket today?
Because I want to be stylish sometimes. Please allow it.
Right on air? Listen to me when I tell you this.
What are you telling me?
This was hard.
This was hard. I have to be real. I was reading this live on air while doing dumb voices, making jokes about things, doing improv riffs for 3 hours, joking with people, and I still teared up a little at 2 parts.
I walked away.
You walked away?
I walked away. I was like reading, and then I was like, you know what? You. And then I walked away and threw my Kobo on the bed and was like, you can just burn in hell. And then I went outside. And I sat on a stump and I stared at the world and I was like, you know what? You. And then I tried to garden and then I came back inside and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna read again. And then I read for 10 minutes and then I was like, you, and walked away again. And so what I did is a lot of swearing at my book and saying fuck you, and then walking away and leaving my Kobo on the bed. And then I came back in, and when the next time I left, I took my Kobo and I put it outside because I was like, I don't want my bed to have to deal with your slimy pollution. And so I took my Kobo outside into the world and I was like, cleanse yourself, Kobo.
Wow. Damn, okay.
And that's how I got through that.
Tell us how you really feel. It was somewhat brutal. If I could recommend a way to get through the eclipse to anyone, it would be do funny voices, reading it out loud live for 3 straight hours with 100 people, cracking jokes. I think it's the easiest way to get through.
Yeah. Didn't you feel like your soul was dirty, though? Like, how'd you cleanse your soul?
Chat protected my soul and I had to go do more work. I'm really glad you decided to read the whole thing and just shotgun the tragedy.
Let me say 7 things.
So you can say 7 things. I'll allow it.
You're going to have a conversation with me. You're in this stream with me. It's going to be uncomfortable for
I'm
me.
listening.
I'm going to drag you into hell.
Where are we going? All right, now we can start.
Okay, you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready as f***, dude.
All right, you listen to me when I tell you this. We're a team. We're riding into battle. Get on your horse.
We are a team. That's true. I have a horse. My horse's name is Midnight Blaze. What's your horse's name?
That's a freaking cool name. My horse's name is Cinnamon Toast.
Hell yeah, Cinnamon Toast and Midnight Blaze. All right, so we good. I think that sounds like we're ready.
I was born ready. Come on, Cinnamon Toast.
Come on, Midnight.
Let's go, Cinnamon Toast.
Put rubber to the road. And then Midnight Blaze goes, why do I have rubber horseshoes?
We got this. Time to rock it out. Devil dog. It's a place with devils and apparently dogs. Here we go. Focus.
Yeah.
You have to delete your art already.
What? That's crazy. I guess that means I'm safe from it for the rest of it, but now I gotta think through how to do it.
The king, PPSS, the king that we start with here, with his melted side-away face, who blames Griffith for the fact that he is a disgusting clod of dirt. That's not fair. Dirt's nice. The king in here is dog poo's not that bad either.
The king is in a bad way.
Decomposing body, and he looks like he is. Like his heart shows on his face. You know the picture of Dorian Gray?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Great
Unlike
concept.
the picture of Dorian Gray, the king just wears who he is and what his soul is like right on his person. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what he looks like. He looks like what he is. And seeing him all wrecked like that made me really happy. But then to go back and find out that the piece of shit king knew exactly who he had hired when he hired the dog and knew that he was raping and torturing people and just kept sending him away from his kingdom so that he wouldn't do it close to him. I was like, as if you weren't bad enough already, new levels of hatred.
There's some commentary here that I find so interesting because a lot of people, even his wife who didn't love him, was like, yeah, he's a good king. But it shows how much to be a good king. You don't have to be a good person. You just have to make things good for your people. That's how you get perceived as a good king. Like, there's something very interesting about this.
And the fact that people are claiming good kingmanship to him, there's nothing good about him. Like, did he have a way of ruling his kingdom? I guess. But is that way also include making some members of his kingdom are tortured, murdered?
Well, and he just gives people to wyald too.
Sexually assaulted? Yes. So it's wild to me that...
Whoa, she said it. She said the word.
It's wild to me that we're able to say that he is a good king at all. Like, at all. So I was like, could not be happier to see this little piece of trash melt. And really glad to see that he has melty face now. Also, I know that later on we're going to talk about how Judeau dies and everyone's going to be like, Judeau died. So did everyone else.
Yeah, but his death was better.
Whatever.
Judeau got the best death in this entire section.
Well, yeah, because it proved when he died, he proved what I said. He saw Casca not as his commanding officer, but as a woman that he loved. And that's why I think that he tried to take, I don't even know what the word is, but he would take risks in things that he said that you wouldn't do if you weren't in love, as if he was trying to create familiarity between them.
I agree. And I think that is good writing for his character for two reasons. The first being that he acted less soldierly than any other character in their group. Everyone else was more of a soldier, whereas he was still a thief
who was to have a relationship without having a relationship.
Well, and then the other reason is I think that's why Casca, being who she is, made that her right-hand man, because I think she valued someone being as her right hand, being willing to go against that sort of expectation. I think the thing is, I think he would be a really bad normal soldier and was a good right-hand man for her because that's what she wanted.
I think that she wanted to be bossed around in the way that he said things like, let's see, you sit back there. Not maybe you should sit back there. Just you sit back there.
Watch she respected it and went with it.
No, I think that she didn't respect it so much as she was just used to Judeau being a bossy little dick.
That's who she kept as her right hand.
Yeah, because what are you going to do? Fire somebody or have a conversation with somebody? Like, to me, you can tell when somebody is crushing on you. And I think that... And it becomes awkward and uncomfortable. And he's very, very important to everyone else. So she can't get rid of him. But he bosses her and treats her in a way almost like he's trying to have this relationship with her that he can never have. And yeah, it's good writing, but it proves what I said, that he's being a dick. He's being disrespectful to his commanding officer. And he's not a good soldier. And I don't enjoy him. When he died, I was really happy for him that he died in a way where he got to be all like, have a great death. Good for you. That's nice. But I wasn't, I wasn't crushed. I was like, oh.
I was pretty heartbroken.
Yeah. I just think that in this one, when he said, you just sit in the back with him and with Griffith and keep him up. And it was just like, he felt so comfortable bossing his commanding officer around. I think that when your commanding officer is a woman who you know has to work harder than everyone else to garner the same level of respect, that you, as their right-hand man, should be showing her ultra respect in order to make her job easier. It is a shit job to not be doing that. And I know that people are all like, I love Judeau and his 4-year-old face and the way that he bosses Casca around. And all I've got to say is, I wasn't all that crushed when he died.
All right.
Pippin, on the other hand,
Mama is right that he did like supersede and was like, hey, I'm telling you what to do while she was the boss. That did happen. I don't know. I respect him. I think he was doing the best, and I think there's a reason Casca kept him as her right hand, because that's where he was most useful. I think he was a worse soldier than he was a friend.
I think he was mid. I thought Pippin was so amazing.
Pippin adds so much in the few places that he was like a vocal presence.
Unlike Judeau, who I just
Judeau,
was his own person. Yeah, I don't care. Pippin was his own person, and he he had a strength for everyone. It felt like, unlike Judeau, who is all like focused on one person and focused on being too familiar with that person, that Pippin was focused on the everyone. And when Pippin put himself at the front, he was basically saying, like, I'm going to do what I can for everybody. Also, I need to die first, because watching everyone die, that's too much for me. I can't do that. I know what's going to happen here, and I'm going to be the line. What if my death saves them? And if it doesn't, at least I'm dead.
That's the vibe I got.
And so for me, that was just like, but we're not there yet. So let's move forward. You know why I'm talking about it a little bit, though? So I can soften the blow. By the time we get there, enough will have leaked out.
I agree. For me, one of the biggest things is the way they show off Wyald being a big deal by having the suddenly appear skewered on the tower was terrifying and so specific and well done. The fact that the dude was just instantly on the tower, I think that was awesome. I think that was radical.
I agree. But you know what was crazy about Wyald? Like, there's parts of it that are worth talking about for sure.
Yeah.
The fact that we go back to the family and they're such good people and they still have so much faith in people they shouldn't have faith in, PPSS. And they work so hard. And then we see that disgusting piece of crap come and R-word her and pull them apart and murder them and then use their bodies as weapons and pull them into battle.
Yeah.
It was, everything about it was terrible. Especially like he's R-wording her beside her dead child's dismembered head.
Oh yeah, it's as gratuitous as possible just for... So I want to talk about what I think the intention of some of these parts were and why I think the author felt like Kenny Boy felt like he needed to include this section. I think so far he'd shown us mostly honorable demons to basically highlight that Griffith is worst of the worst. And I think this was him reminding us, no, demons are atrocious monsters, because Zodd had a sense of honor. Slugdad had a sense of honor. The demons we've gotten to know have some semblance of honor to them. So to me, this was him trying to tell us this is how depraved demons can be.
Yeah, and there's also something about it that I think reminds us that this is who Griffith is at his core.
Yeah, this is what he's become. This is what he associates himself with for power.
It's more like this is who he's willing to be. Like, he knows this, he sees this, it is still like, oh well. He fights against them, he knows what they did to him. They hear the rumors come back about what happened to the family, and he's like, yeah, I mean, it's not best, but if I get to have a great body and be back and be kingly, then oh well. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I agree.
It's an opportunity for us to see how strong Guts is.
Absolutely. It's the first time he beats a demon. He beats an otherworldly thing, and everyone is blown away.
And it's also a great opportunity for us to see Casca's mind at work, blowing up the bridge and other aspects. So I don't buy the idea that Casca was overwrought and needed somebody to take care of her. Casca's mind is very focused and strong. Otherwise, she wouldn't be a leader.
I think it was a chance to show us her leadership skills and the fact that she makes a good mercenary, like the fact that she was doing a very good job holding this together. Like, if she wasn't against something otherworldly, she would have won with that plan. And
even still, like, they managed to gain some distance in that moment. But I also thought that it was a really good opportunity because when Dog Boy blows up and becomes bigger, we get to see just how ridiculous and overpowered they can become. And it tells us a little bit of the lore of the afterworld. Of him saying, like, use your bell hat and call the gods and bring them down. You're supposed to be this one.
I love his desperation and how little he cares for order and is just selfish, that he's like, no, do it early. Come on, bitch, bring him down. Come on.
It's also good because you're seeing the levels of depravity. He knows exactly what's going to happen. And you know that there is communication, power structure, and some non-chaos within the chaos of demons, because we find out here that he has had a conversation about Griffith with Zodd.
Yeah. One of the things I hate about the section most is that in the middle of something that we both agree as vulgar and unnecessary. And I think you can have vulgar and necessary, but vulgar and unnecessary becomes a thing that feels like it's just for shock value. And we'll talk about the impacts of what happened to Casca a little bit, because it's not, Kenny Boy is not a bad enough writer that he just does something for shock value and then throws it away and doesn't have it impact the story. I think one of the things that makes it grossest and hardest to get through is that he really does consider the impact of it. But in the middle of that, we get what I think is unironically the best fight in the series so far as strategy, choreography, and art, which is, it kind of sucks that the best fight in the series, in my opinion, includes something I hate.
Yeah.
Like, that's difficult, right? That's...
Yeah.
But it's a good fight. It's a really fucking cool fight.
Yes. It's...
Yeah. Yes,
I don't
exactly. That noise. That's the feeling.
Yeah. Those are the sounds I made every time I would chuck my book and walk out.
Fair.
Like the R-wording moment in this one with the piece of shit who unzips his center chest. That also, ew.
Gross. I think a great monster design, though.
Yeah. I mean, he was horrifying. Also, his naughty bits came from a very strange place. But the R word in this one was just so, it felt okay.
Yeah.
It felt so wrong. Okay, but Griffith falls on top of her after this, right?
Yes, which I think...
So can I just say one thing? He watched what happened to Casca.
Yes.
Saw that she had been attacked by a demon. And that it had sexually assaulted her, and pulled her apart in front of everyone. And he thought that it was still okay to try and assault her afterwards.
Yes.
When I watched this afterwards, I started to think just now, like, he showed his whole character and who he was and what he was willing to become in that moment. You watch somebody go through the hell and your immediate thought isn't, how can I protect them? How can I make them feel their power again?
Yes.
How can I have my friend who has gone through this bullshit feel like they have agency over their own life? Your immediate thought is, if I could also R-word her, then I would have power and dominion back.
So here's the thing. I think what's great about Griffith, and you've said this too, is that you can read so many actions. Anytime that he's not breaking, you can read what he's doing two ways. You can read this way that Casca did of, oh, Griffith is reaching out to me to comfort me and he's too weak and fell upon me. But like, I definitely more felt that it was that he looked at what Wyald did as, oh, I wish I could do that to empower myself and feel like a man too. Because I think he didn't just feel emasculated by Wyald there. I think he felt emasculated by Guts, because his goal was to become beyond human, and Guts did that. Guts did become more than human, and he is this shriveled, broken man who just wants to feel like a powerful person again. He just wants to feel like he can take his will on others again. And that's in that moment when Casca is being written very well. Like, that's, again, one of the things that makes it hardest is her response to what happened is so well written. She feels like what a strong warrior woman who just went through that and it's not just the shock and pain and horror of it, because I genuinely think with how much she thought about the life she almost ended up with, she is somewhat braced for that. It's the humiliation. I think that's what was hurting her the most, and that it felt like it was being written that way.
Exactly. And so and this is why, and I know that you want to roll your eyes every time I say it, but it's important to me. This is why also Judeau's character upsets me, because she has to endure the slights and misogyny of everyone and the risk of R-wording all the time. And these types of things happen to her. So he should be, if anything, empowering her as a person and not like commanding her when she's a commanding officer. Because she needs to constantly have somebody who is, especially her right-hand person, who is hyping her power.
I I agree to an extent. You said something earlier, and then immediately after, while I was mulling it over, chat paraphrased it. And you know when you hear something twice with two different phrasings and it helps it sink in better? I love Judeau as a character. I think he's really well written, but I do think there's a level of disrespect.
He's well written.
There's a level of disrespect to the fact that he assumes he knows best. Now, I think sometimes he does know best, and Casca knows that, and that's why she respects what he says. But I do think it is disrespectful the way he communicates it sometimes. And I feel like what I'm realizing is it's like a similar version of Griffith wanting to R-word her because it's a wanting to seize masculinity. But the reason it's less toxic is because instead of it being, I'm going to highlight what makes me feel like a man, which is the fact that I have power over you and can take you, it's, I want to flex what makes me feel like a man, which is I'm a level-headed person. I am the person who can see the win condition.
It's still a form of power, Drawk. So he's still trying to have a form of power over her by doing things like sit down beside him and make sure he doesn't fall over. And you know that Tony would have said, he's not going to be like, hey, do you think it's good if you, it's written as sit down beside Griffith and make sure he doesn't tip over. That's still a form of power that he shouldn't be exerting over somebody who's a superior officer. I think I just got to say, this is the same thing that I see in Griffith. Very different. Do not get me wrong.
Yeah. It's not as toxic of it, but I think it's meant to be the same. I think because this is a really good writer who creates parallels. I think this is meant to be something you can see is very similar.
I've been in a lot of circumstances. When I read this, I see a woman who is having to fight against all the misogyny of this universe and the world that she's in. And this other man is also trying to exert his force and power over her to make him feel like a man because he knows he can never have her. And then Griffith is the exact same character, but turned up into gross.
You know what I find interesting that I'm realizing in talking about this?
Yeah.
Pippin is actually the same, but with guts instead of casca.
Interesting. Yes.
So hear me out. Hear me out, right? Because Guts is his commanding officer and he's still willing to do stuff. But the difference is each of them are flexing what they have. Pippin and Judeau keep a level head better than Guts and Casca, right?
Yeah.
And we see all the time, Pippin's the one who forces his will on Guts using his sheer strength to be like, hey, buddy, I'm going to force you into making the right call. And meanwhile, Judeau is the one using his cunning and words to be like, hey, buddy, I'm going to force you into making the right call. And I think like Pippin is just this wall who puts himself in front of Guts's decision making.
Yeah, I would agree. The difference is you can feel that there's more obvious respect. And it almost feels like Pippin's respect just comes for the name, not the person, and for the love, not the position. And so Judeau, in my universe, Judeau. And so for me, I feel like her position
are they equal?
Deserves respect. No, I don't think so.
So I thought Guts was his superior because I thought Pippin was one of the raiders. Is he not? I thought he was. I might be misremembering.
Regardless, you know who's not? Casca. Casca's not equal.
I think there's something. He was not a raider. Okay, someone's correcting me.
I hate the way they show Griffith. The fact that he throws himself on top of her and she sees it as this like pleading moment of his weakness and is fantastic because if you're a proper reader, you know when you've seen her go through the humiliation that she went through and the strength she's had to pull out now that happened to her with the stupid gross dog demon. I'm just going to call him dog demon. Any reasonable human being would be like, how can I make this person stronger and more capable in their own mind? And instead, he's like, how can I continue to use this person that I saw weakened, that I know Guts is in love with? I saw Guts do things I can never do. How can I take some of his power by taking her power?
So this leads into what I think is the best scene of this entire first section of reading, which was originally going to be our video this week before we decided to shotgun it. I think the scene where Griffith is shown a vision of what life would be like if he gave up and just lived a normal life might be one of the most, if not the most beautiful scenes in the series. And the fact that flashback of a beautiful, peaceful life as a crippled man who is loved and taken care of and has children he is able to raise despite being broken. And that terrifies him, says so much about him.
Finds it disgusting.
He finds
And
it
you're
disgusting when you're shown in this world of horrors, he has the option to live peacefully.
Yeah. And he's like, ew,
Oh,
that's horrifying. I could never do that. That's everything. That tells you everything you need to know about him.
What a beautiful scene, though, right?
Oh, yeah. It's well done as shit. Like, so well done. Because you're
I think, and this is crazy, it may be my favorite scene in the series, and maybe that's just because one of the themes we've noticed the most and harped on the most about is the idea that you can give up, that there is no dishonor in living a normal life, that there's something beautiful about being human, about accepting yourself beyond a story and a mission, that being a person is something you should celebrate.
It's not even a give up. It's not even a give up, because if you look at the blacksmith, he didn't give up on shit. He became something more by deciding that he was a normal man.
You're right. So it's not even about give up. It's just about accept that the narrative you've imagined for yourself doesn't need to be true. Now, but then again, we've talked about how the blacksmith is the same as Griffith in some ways. The parallels in this series are really cool and layered, where characters will be the same and different in different ways, which is awesome. But yeah, you could just accept the path you've taken and live this life with someone who loves you and still be friends with Guts, clearly, as he's in and out of the world. It's just, I don't know. Not everyone has to be the protagonist, and he sees that truth, and it terrifies and disgusts him.
He hates it. It horrifies him. It's the most disgusting thing he could imagine. Way more disgusting than, say, trying to R-word somebody after they had been R-worded.
Yep. God, what a scene. And he immediately steals a horse with his broken body and rides off to his destiny, having been shown what giving up on it means, and seeing something that seems genuinely beautiful to us, the viewer. And he's disgusted and throws his broken body
and runs as far and as fast as he can
away from that vision. He sees that she is willing to give up on her life for him to take care of him and give him comfort in thanks for the purpose she's been given by him. And he hates it. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Beautiful storytelling in this section.
It kind of reminds me of Every Human, though. The reason that I think it works is, think about all the people who would rather die than rely on other people.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why people can be like, even though it's horrifying, I get it.
Someone's saying it can also be read as him trying to kill himself, which again, that's what's great about Griffith, is you can constantly read everything he does two ways. You
can always read him more than one way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's not skip the part where Casca holds her stomach. I mean, guys, we're going to have to go back to that anyways.
Don't even. I can't even.
It's one of the most fucked up parts in this, huh? That's been haunting me.
Yeah.
Don't you love being haunted?
No, I don't. That is why I kept going outside and being like, no.
Oh. So I misunderstood. Apparently, Wyald did not fully succeed in R-wording Casca. He was interrupted. I thought he had by the time Guts got involved. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I had noticed that. Maybe, look, it made me uncomfortable and I might have skipped through too quickly, because that slightly changes things.
I felt like when I was looking at it, but it was great there. Yeah. I also didn't go in because she'd be dead, given the shape and dimension.
It was a bad. Okay, can we actually? I want to talk about this briefly. This fucking sucks to talk about, but now that you mention it,
goes in or not? No.
Well, now that you mention it,
no bueno.
It is so important to actually note that as a design choice, because it was a way of, through illustrative design, to indicate that Wyald, despite being a guy who's defined by f***ing constantly, in his demon form, his dick is not there for sex and pleasure. It is just there to
murder.
Take. He sees sex as an act of conquest and taking and nothing else. And that's reflected through his design. And this is gross. This is a gross thing to say, but it is good monster design.
I have something to tell you about that. The reason that I think that's very important is because, and people aren't going to like this, is because I think the author is making a commentary on many men who don't see women as people and see sex as just a conquest and a taking of, and don't want to be with them. And I think the author is making kind of this thing that's saying that everyday men can also be monsters.
I could see it. It does feel like it could be commentary. Most monster designs are meant to be commentary on aspects of humanity. So I think you're right.
I think because look at what happens afterwards with Griffith and the way that he chucks himself on her while he's still just a regular man.
Mm-hmm.
And he's using her and her vulnerability as a way of strengthening himself. So I think he's just saying this is every man can be a monster.
I mean, there's something baked into that in the series, because this is a series where everybody can be a demon. Demons are not born demons. Demons are humans who put themselves before others. That is inherently what demons are. And a failure to become a demon is a failure to put someone in particular below you. Slug Dad died because he couldn't put his daughter below him in terms of value. I know it's not just the people they value most. What I mean is people in the abstract. Like, you become a demon by putting all people beneath you. There is no one who is more important than you. That's how you become a demon in this world. So I feel like it's a way of making commentary. You have characters like Wyald and, I'm guessing, Swan, who are willing to hurt others for sexual gratification. And then you have others like Griffith who are willing to hurt others for power, likely Zodd as well, which is interesting. So for the story, every time we've seen sex or intimacy, it's been accompanied with violence. Yes, and the way it's done with Casca and Guts is so good for that reason, because the violence is accidental and they confront it. And like, God, that scene. Some of the scenes in this are really good. Have you noticed that Berserk has some good scenes?
Have you noticed that it's the worst and yet also the best?
It really is. It's both at the same time.
Truly just terrible, and then also like just really good.
Okay, if watching a good superhero movie is like eating a really good burger, this is like eating the best open concept Mexican food you've ever had, but it's so spicy you're crying.
That's fair. That's fair. And let's say this again now, Drawk. Like, let's say this for the cheap seats.
Yeah.
So we can get this out there. If you're a person who hasn't read it and you've only watched the anime, I mean, really, f off. You've not done it, right?
You should read this. It's very good.
No, f off. You've not done it right. And now that I'm at this point and I know what I know, f that. If you haven't had to watch Griffith be the man we knew who he was before this occurred, you have not done Berserk right. And I don't care if you think you have. I don't care if I piss off all of the people in Berserk land. No, you're wrong. You've done it wrong.
If you pitch the idea of skipping the prologue to your friends, that's insane to me, because like, we've talked so often about the thing that makes Griffith written so well is that, except for these brief moments of breaking, you can read everything he does two ways. How do you write a character like that on a tightrope?
Exactly.
And I think you lose noticing that. You won't notice that fact unless you know how he ends up. I think the prologue is so necessary for seeing the nuance in Griffith's writing.
It's just wild to me that anyone is like, there's lots of ways of seeing it, and the anime always choose. No, wrong. I don't often say that people are just wrong. I think there are multiple ways of watching Star Wars. Do it what you want. There are multiple ways of reading different types of books. This one was written that way for a particular reason. He is trying to tell a story in a particular way. And if you haven't done that, it is just not done service to the author's work.
Yeah, I think like it reads fine as a typical story, but Berserk has the potential to be so much more than a typical story about a betrayal that surprises you. And the fact that there are people who would rather preserve the surprise and shock of betrayal over this constant dread of analyzing someone you know is a monster inside and watching that unfold and trying to determine where the monster ends and the human begins. That's so much cooler. That's so much fun. Cooler than just a surprise that hurts your feelings.
Much cooler. And who cares about hurting your feelings? You want your feelings hurt? Send me a message. I'll hurt your feelings. That's not enough.
Jesus Christ. That was the most baller thing. I also want to say, well, we're just talking about Berserk on the whole. This little conversation about Wyald and being able to extract the meaning from an area that like I think is less significant than everything else we're going to talk about by far has reminded me of something. this is such a strange series because it's so layered and deep and has so many nuances in its writing, but is so painful that I genuinely like Berserk more when I'm discussing it with you than when I'm reading it. And it's not like I don't like reading it, but it's so much more fun diving into it than just being on your own.
There was moments when I was like, I'm not reading anymore. Screw this shit. I'm not reading it. And then I remembered, Drawk and I are going to talk about it. And I love talking about it. And I think it's fun.
It's so fun to talk about.
And I was like, right, you got to push through. You got to push through. And yet I still want to point out I'm not going to recommend it to my children.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't recommend this to someone genuinely less than like 23, probably.
I think they say that 25 is when you are fully developed prefrontal cortex. So maybe that's when it is.
But here's what I'm thinking. What if right at the end when it's mostly developed, but you can still learn a bit is the best time because then you can, grow from it more.
Ugh, I don't know, Drawk. Come on, man.
The series teaches some good lessons.
Every time I see, like right now, the mother in me is just like, oh my God.
Someone saying that it helped them get through a depression, though, which I've heard from a lot of people. This and One Piece are the two things I've heard of getting people through the depressions the most. What?
I have heard that.
Yeah.
I have heard that. Yeah. I just want the teacher in Mom and Me wants to find all of these people who read it so young and just be like, hey there. I'm really excited.
Hey there, buddy.
You're excited by this, but hey, little buddy, I've got some stuff for you to help you out. And I think what you need is to be hugged. When he first comes out, I just think to myself when I see him, like, yeah, I know you look cool here, but there's something about you that is, what's the word? Bug-like, icky. Like, I want to take out a can of Raid and
think about how much we've talked about the idea of dehumanization. And his helmet goes from something he wears on the battlefield when he's a weapon to being a prisoner's mask that is kept on him at first to dehumanize him and then to hide his dehumanized face from people. And then it's fused into his body as femto, becoming part of his identity as an inhuman thing.
I really, even though not a big fan of the wyald section, obviously.
Yeah.
So I did appreciate it was the entire thing with his mask. That I was like, really cool choice to not only make it a thing that was forced upon him, but then to make it a thing that he forces upon himself because he refuses to let anyone see his face not being beautiful. Like, you can see my body, but as long as you can't see my face, is it really me? Do you really know who I am? You think it's me. We've agreed it's me, but you've never seen my face. And so without seeing my face, I can actually still be anonymous. I am me without being me. And so I don't have to own what's happened to me. And I think that made it more interesting for me. I think my favorite part, that is not my favorite part.
I love the flash forward. The flash forward is so beautiful to me.
The flash forward was amazing. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But my favorite part was not one part. It was how everybody kept trying to protect Griffith and stand with him and walk and joke and just treat him like a regular person. And meanwhile, we were watching him corrupt himself.
Yeah.
The corruption went beyond.
So the eclipse happens.
No. Want to know a secret about the Charlotte part before I forget?
Oh, Charlotte. Yeah.
That part was mid.
Guts is going to see her. Guts is going to have to like see her again.
Yeah.
She's alive.
I'm not into it either. Like, not into it.
Every character who's still alive, I'm like, fuck.
It's everybody just talking to Griffith and hanging with Griffith like he's a normal person that they're trying to help and bring back. Doesn't it make you every single moment because you read this properly and didn't skip the beginning? The hatred in your heart as you're watching it come, you know it's coming and it's still worse. Like, everything is worse because you're just watching them all have this normal relationship with a person they think is human. And you're like, stop it!
This is a monster!
Stop having these nice moments and trying to share powerful human experiences with this piece of shit. Oh, God.
The balancing act of writing a character like Griffith and keeping him so compelling as a protagonist and villain for this long setting it up so well that I'm this compelled by him as we're approaching the part where I know he's about to do the worst things possible. I'll be honest too. I had it spoiled for me through cultural osmosis. This is the thing that I haven't been mentioning, that in his transformation, he was going to R-word our girl. I knew that was coming, and I still felt compelled by him this whole time.
You knew that was coming?
I knew that was coming.
That's I knew it was coming, but I only knew it was coming through guessimication.
Through vibes, yeah. It had the vibes of happening regardless. It felt like what we were building towards, but like I knew almost for sure because someone had spoiled something and it just stuck with me for some reason.
Is it because it's terrible?
Yeah, but it was like way before I had interest in reading Berserk that I had it spoiled, and I just like, that is the one thing I knew getting in, and I still have felt compelled by him as a character because he's just that carefully written.
Yeah. Also, Zodd should take his testicles out of his stomach. It's weird.
Zodd don't need a dick. Zodd is all about the fighting.
No, did you not see? There's a point where he's doing this stretchy thing and it's not tummy muscles. There's two weird lumps in him that looks like it's like ascended testicles. It's weird.
Okay.
But we know something else about the weird world there, because they didn't just take Griffith for who he was in that moment. He had to have the bell hat back or it didn't count. But he was like, but Zodd said, but you will get it. That's how this works. It will come back to you.
Yeah.
And so I think it's easy just to gloss over that part until you remember that it's telling us as readers that there are rules to how things work. So things do have a type of system, and there are things that have to happen before other things can happen. So you can't, unless he had that, he couldn't ascend to his role. Because otherwise he just would have started the eclipse then and there. But instead, he actually had to get the bell hat.
It also, I do love how you've ignored all the corrections, and I'm not saying this sarcastically. I love that people have tried to tell you how to pronounce Bayolet, and you have just been like, actually, fuck yourselves.
I'm not going to lie. You know that I like to mispronounce certain things intentionally.
Yes.
Zodd. I want to hate Zodd more.
Yeah. He's so compelling. He's a lot like Griffith, but more honorable because he like respects strength in his opponents.
More than Griffith.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to give Griffith a minus 75 million and Zodd a minus 60.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about Zodd that makes me be like, this entire time they're just trying to save Griffith. Either everything is going on, everything that's happening, they still try to save the piece of shit.
I remember what I was going to say. The disrespect for this order that Zodd cares so much about is another way to indicate how little Wyald cares about things that aren't himself. Zodd has this sense of respect for the system they exist in, and Wyald is like, you save me, I get mine. Zodd is a smash for me. I see we have the monster fuckers in chat.
There's a whole bunch of Daddy Zodd. Well, you'll be happy to know that I think that he has an internal penis that can come out.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just telling facts, man. These are just facts.
This is an important theory you have. The issue is that in a series where characters like Wyald and Slann exist, the monster fucker comments have been invited by the text.
Yeah.
Like, Slann and Wyald exist, so like, yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
When Slann first rose up, I was like, is she getting off right now? And the entire chat was like, probably.
Oh my God. Okay. The whole part where Griffith takes off and then ends up finding the bell hat, how they're announcing and talking about the fight and where they're going to go next. And they're talking to Griffith and they're asking him to be a part of it. And you're sitting there and you're thinking like, this is a normal moment. Now we're going to have these conversations about what do we look like? Who are we as a band of the Hawks? What does the future look like? Blah, blah, blah. And I think it was so brilliantly done. If you've read it and you know the beginning piece, because you know this is the moment that it changes. You know what's coming. If you haven't, you're just like, oh, what's going to happen next? And how are they going to make the choices? You're just like, well, he's got to get the bell hat now. Everything is going to change. And then everyone who hasn't read this properly and didn't see the beginning is like, oh, this is going to be interesting times and blah, blah, blah. And all I'm doing while I'm reading this is, oh, I guess we're here now. I guess this is when we watch him ascend.
The sense of dread of just not knowing exactly how it's going to happen, but knowing what's up. I love it. I agree with Mama that like I feel like the prologue is intentional and makes the series stronger and at the very least, far more unique. It gives you access to so much more of the interesting nuances if you have the context of the prologue. Whereas I feel like it's a far more typical story if you don't have that.
Hey, so can I tell you what actually destroyed me? And it's super funny. And I think it was very intentional of him.
Okay.
You end Requiem of the Wind.
Mhm.
Casca is putting a band-aid around Griffith's arm.
Mhm.
Guts is walking out. They're trying to normalize the abnormal. You go into the next one, which is the Warriors of Twilight. And Casca is leaning over the back of Guts. Guts has his hand up on her elbow and she's got her arms wrapped around his neck and is leaning her chin on his head. And you could see the normality of their love and the future that they could have together as two people who were meant to be together, who understand each other at a really deep level. And then boom, change the page. And the first thing you see is she's still putting the Band-Aid on Griffith's hands, but you're looking at his eyes. And it's that thing once again, where you know he has changed as a person and he wishes that he could use her and take her. And then he falls on top of her and tries to take her. You see it in his eye, through his hood. And I was like, oh, Jesus. That's what destroyed me.
Something that someone pointed out in chat that I think is brilliant, and we'll get to this later in more detail, but we've talked a lot about how the idea of gender being associated with humanity and degenderization being associated with dehumanization of someone giving up their sex for purpose. And the idea that Guts was inspired to give up being a sword so that he could match Griffith, and Griffith failing and being angry and, you know, essaying Charlotte led to Casca needing to become a leader, and that led to her no longer being a sword, her being her own person. And you see Griffith's reaction to these two, the love they have being human. They are a man and woman in love now, not his two swords.
Yeah, exactly. And he only, the sad thing for me with Casca is he only wants to attack Casca to hurt Guts.
I think to hurt Guts, but also to punish her for falling in love with Guts, stealing Guts from him. There's a lot of ways to read it, but I think it was to punish both of them.
Maybe, but it's more for Guts than for her. And I think that's a bigger insult.
I agree.
I'm using you and hurting you more to upset him than
and
you.
I think,
even though you're the one who's being destroyed.
And
here.
I think the reason he hates her is mostly because of Guts too, from stealing Guts from him.
Exactly, because he sees Guts as being his. He said, "You're mine.
I desire you.
I desire you. You belong to me." He says, "You belong to me."
Yeah.
And so the only reason that he has this hatred for what's going on with her is that she took Guts.
Yeah.
And that's way more disturbing, that somebody abuses you not for you, but to hurt someone else.
Yep.
That's how little you matter.
Oh,
this part is so heavy.
Yep.
But he did this amazing page where he says, "Why do I always see these things after they're done and gone?" And it shows Griffith in bed as a wisp of who he was, and the two of them standing strong and equal. And you know then that Griffith is listening to them and his eyes are changing. Even if it's alone, you have to go. And Griffith is freaking out. And that's just before the part that you love, when his old self comes and takes him. And it's interesting because he gets his strength. And that's what I'm saying. He gets his strength from taking their joy. He sees them together, knows she might still decide to go with Guts, that they're going to leave him. Who will take care of him if they go? It's going to be his old band. He's going to have none of the life that he had before if she doesn't stay. There's going to be nothing to him. They're going to go off and continue to love and have a life as if he didn't even exist. And he's just like, fuck that.
The subtleties of the facial expressions continue to astound me. Like, I think you have to be such a good writer and artist to be able to trust so much nuance in your writing that is carefully crafted to your art. Like, you have to be great at both to know where you can lean on your own art to this extent. It was so impressive. You are really delaying getting into the hell cyclone, huh?
No, we're going into the hell cyclone.
You don't want to be in the hell cyclone. For some reason, you don't want to be in the hell tornado. The reason that I can't figure out for the life of me.
Listen, I know it's hard to understand. It's just not my favorite part.
Weird. You don't like the hell tornado?
I'm going to go and get my reading glasses.
All right. We're getting glasses. We're getting glasses up. Hey guys, did you know the eclipse is happening now? Did you know we reached it?
I hate the hell cyclone and I hate eclipse. But can I appreciate that he did literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
yeah,
6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pages of nothing but Griffith. No words, a few sounds.
I didn't notice.
Yeah. 10 pages. While I was reading this, I was just entranced by this. For an entire chapter, all we have is Griffith on the ground, different facial expressions, the wrestling with who he was and who he will be, laughter coming out. He snaps his arm, looking at what he is. He leans down towards a jagged thing that's in the water and decides it can go through his neck. It goes through him. He just doesn't care. It's coming out the side of him. He's cut and he's like, yes, good. This is the end. This should be the end. And then it's just him alone in the plane, blood dripping down. And as the blood is dripping down, it's what compels him to reach in the water. He sees the Belhalat and boom, that's the end of it.
I want you to put yourself in a scenario. You're a bi-weekly Berserk reader because it came out every 2 weeks, I believe, at this point. You know what's coming because you read the prologue. You are so full of dread because you know how the last chapter's been ending. You know where we're going. You open your bi-weekly chapter, and instead of getting right to it, you're going to have another 2 weeks of dread because you get this masterpiece of this slow, drawn out scene. And there's going to be another 2 weeks until you actually get it now. You're having it delayed again.
My fucking God.
And you're just watching the internal process of this man falling apart and recognizing in that how far he's going to go. God, yes.
Exactly. And when I read this and I felt like I was watching the descent of Griffith, like this was the last story of Griffith the man.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing to. Oh, yeah.
I was like, the last story of Griffith the man takes place right here, and then that's it. From this moment forward, it's not.
Can we talk about the symbology there of him trying to escape, deciding to kill himself? The place we see that end, the place that Griffith the man ends is with the decision to kill himself, because the blood of deciding to end the story of Griffith the man is what allows Femto to come into existence.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly. Wow. Oh, that's, I hadn't thought of. Hey, sometimes I breeze past when you're at your smartest because I'm trying to get to my ideas. It's a mistake, but it happens. This time, I just want to pay attention. That's really cool. Hell yes.
It was pretty wild. I just sat there and went, who as an author is that confident in themselves that they make an entire chapter where the character doesn't say a word? And we completely watch them live their last moments of being a man. So he did actually kill himself there. He killed the man in him. And now he's ready to be the demon. Beautiful.
A+. Ugh. I really do like talking about Berserk more than reading it. And I still like reading it. It's just, this is great.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy reading this.
I had a great time. Me and chat loved it.
Yeah, you were doing crazy voices. I was lost in a death cycle in my bed and then going outside.
I think I might have cheated.
And then I would go outside and be like, no!
Can we talk about how incredible the second the eclipse starts, the visuals are?
They are. They're but it's like I said before with him. The minute that he's like, all right, time to do something super disturbing. Let's make it as beautiful as possible.
Right? Some of the most beautiful, interesting art in the entire series is this horrifying hill of faces made of faces rolling into the endless oblivion, souls forming a tornado into the eclipse in the sky. How the fuck? This is the coolest bit.
That's what this bastard is.
It's so cool.
Dude is like master of the, oh, is this the most disturbing thing you've ever seen? What if we made it spectacular looking?
This is something every writer and artist should take as note, by the way. The reason this all works is a tool that writers and artists all use expertly if they're good at their craft. It's called specificity. There is a misconception many people have that the more specific you make things, the less approachable they are. But that's the opposite. Humans like detail. It sparks our minds. We don't connect to something unless our brain is active, and our brain is most activated by unique specificities. If you say you were drinking a drink, people don't even engage. If you say you were drinking this weird mint watermelon drink that had tonic water in it, people are immediately paying more attention to the scene because that's unique. They are imagining what it tastes like. They're kind of drawn in. And Kenny Boy, master of this, because it's not just hills of faces, it's hills of faces made of faces. And thinking about that, noticing the texture and the shading and taking in all of that forces you to engage. I was forced to engage with the page longer than I wanted to because I was like, oh, is it just the main face that made of faces? The rest of them look smooth. And then people pointed out, no, look at the shading. And you can see where the shadows meet the light area. You see the texture that indicates, oh, okay, this is all faces made of faces. And the fact that that had been pointed out to me made me be more drawn in. The fact that there was something interesting enough to dig into, I was more part of the scene. So if you're an artist or a writer, specificities.
Yeah, that's a good point. And something that I'd like to say is the only good thing that came out of this is we got Puck back. And something I'd like to say about your texture is, unfortunately, because we're humans, we know what anything would feel like in our mouth.
That's true. You try this. You can look at anything and know what your tongue would feel like touching it.
And so choosing to make it look textured, whether you know it or not, the reason you know the texture is not from your fingers, it's from your tongue.
Horrible.
It makes it more horrifying when he textured these faces.
Can I just say?
Because it forces your brain to think about what that texture is.
Can I just say, what a bad fact you've given us. Thank you.
What I like to do is I like to take the things that upset people and then I like to put them on high. The fact that Griffith is still crying and crying out tears, crying out the last of his humanity moments, and the Bell Hat is also crying out the blood to mimic him, and that we still have Guts trying to save him, trying to carry him away from this. Griffith can't even take care of himself. And Guts is like, NBD, I've got you.
It's like he's been such an impressive figure to them that even as he is unable to be who he was, just on what he accomplished for them in the past, they are willing to do everything they can in the face of the unreal to save him. That's how much loyalty he's inspired, and that's not enough for him. That means nothing to him because he sucks.
Exactly, because he's the worst. All right, you lead us in.
Okay. Well, I don't know what page we're on. So the eclipse is actually, I know what page, I know where we're at. One of the coolest things that I love as this is happening is, now it doesn't last forever because, like I've said, Casca and Guts are both more emotional than some of the others. But Casca is also an incredible leader. And she is the one, and I love this, who in the moment where they are in a reality that doesn't make sense, she says, yeah, no shit. No shit. There's a lot of this you can't control, that you don't understand, that is mind-blowing, that defies everything you know about reality. What can you control? Focus on it. Yeah. Brilliant leadership. What a great statement to make.
It actually, even though I was in this moment and hated all people and all things because of it, I still took a moment when I was like, I'm going to use that and tell myself that, like, when I'm going through big shit, I'm going to say to myself, like, yeah, you can't control all of that stuff. That shit is outside of your zone. What can you control? What aspects are you able to normalize, and how can you move forward? Because when she started calling out orders and being like, yeah, this is absolutely insane. Stop focusing on that. Focus on what's real and what's normal.
What can you control?
And I was just like, God, what can you control? I was like, God, Casca.
I love how she's written, because no character in this series is without weakness. There are places where Casca's composure breaks, and it's usually, like Guts, for emotional reasons. Which, can I just say, it's actually really good that Guts has that same vulnerability, because if it was just the woman, it would feel sexist, but it points out, no, some people are just more emotional than others.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's actually really necessary that Guts also gets over emotional the way Casca does, for it to not feel sexist. Anyways, but when it comes to staring down things that are unreality, Casca is fantastic at being like, I can keep a level head. I'm good at survival. I have the responsibility to keep these people alive. It comes across so well in that scene. And then we have what I think might be one of the coolest fucking visuals. When the first of the God Hands show up, when Slann is suddenly one of the faces in the pile and has this horrible size changing effect where she's a giant at first and then is shifting down as it's needed to be. But seeing her in the distance, seeing her rise up, I think like it is so hard with art to sell the concept of divinity, to sell the concept of something that is above something else is actually way more difficult than you'd think it is. There's a lot of ways to go about it. One way you'll see a lot is what they did for Eneru in One Piece, where you have someone who in dramatic situations is shown to be very reclined, relaxed. You give them a posture that feels above it all and like they're unconcerned with what's happening. And the God Hand never used that. And I think the reason is because they can't be casual. They believe in themselves to such an extent that to make them, it was literally the moon, you're right. They believe in themselves so much that if you make them casual, it'll take away the power they have over the narrative. So I think it is so goddamn brilliant to instead have them be, the moon, the hills, have them be the world around them. Like this thing that was already disrupting them with its sheer size and unreality is just her face. The way she rises up, is it a little bit weird that it does seem like she is literally getting off in this scene? Yes. However, all of the visuals around it are so well presented. The compositions are some of the best I've seen in this series.
I didn't find that weird at all.
I mean, it does fit her vibe.
Yeah, her vibe is supposed to be this oversexed freak.
Yeah.
Her getting off from the creation of the new king and the suffering and despair of others made sense to me.
Oh, it makes sense. It felt unsettling to me. Like it was like, we're trying to
look. You used the word unsettling.
Yeah,
now we're there.
Unsettling
is the right thing.
Unsettling is what it did. Yeah, I'll slut shame a woman who's masturbating to the idea of the deaths of thousands. I will. Like,
no, you're not wrong. That's icky.
I'm not one to slut shame often, but if you are arriving at a coronation that involves the sacrifice of hundreds of men and you're masturbating in public, I'm sorry, I'll slut shame that actually.
Yeah, no, that's decent. Yeah, I'm going to be here for that. I feel like I did a good job raising you when you hear that. I'm like, that's the right way to see this, actually. Yeah, no, I'm going to say that's a fair take, and I'm okay with it.
I'm glad you agree. This is such a weird series. I love this. But like everything about
super inappropriate moment from her.
All of their introductions are good. The way that they show off their bizarre powers, the way that some of them torment personally and some of them just torment with their presence and fear is great. But I think it's good that he started with Slann because her introduction felt the most compelling to me. And I think he probably reviewed his ideas for each of their intros and was like, this is the one that's the most shaking. I would bet, and we can't ask him because he died, I would bet that he debated starting or ending with Slann because it's the one that feels most compelling. But I think ending with Void is smart because Void is the one that comes across as being the most powerful to me.
Interestingly, she felt the most powerful to me.
Really? Void feels like he's the big deal. Like he's the one they all listen to the most. Everyone else is kind of just giving their commentary for their own sake.
Meanwhile, for me, I think Void is hilarious. He just seems so funny.
Cool design, though.
I was like, oh, look at you. I'm so cool. Remember when we asked whether or not they were the actual hands of God, and then we got answered that yes, they are the actual fingers on the hands of God.
Yeah, I mean, there's 5 of them, so it made sense, but I'm glad it was that literal.
Which was delightful. If it hadn't have been, I would have been pretty pissed off about it, honestly, at this point. I would have been like, come on, what a miss, what a miss. The other thing that was super, super cool about this moment is the hand of God reaching up. All the other current gods are all standing on the fingertips in this demented world, and you have guts just hanging there like a remnant of real humanity. He had never looked more heroic than with his knife pushed into all the faces while he just hung off of the arm of God.
There is something about Guts' character that's sold here that, like, the thing that separates him from other humans more than anything is that he doesn't see that divide anymore. He has gotten past the point of feeling like that there is the divine and there is him. He isn't like a normal man who looks at something above him and says, I can't. he fights. And that's what this series is about. And that's why I think it's so good for people with depression, because it's about fight. It's about, no, don't give up, stop giving up, keep moving, keep doing everything you can. And I agree. The reason he's more heroic here than ever is because he's literally up against the impossible. And he just, exactly like Casca says, does the thing he can do.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes no sense that he's like, I'm hanging off of the arm of God and it's raising up into an eye of maybe God, which is also a moon. And where's Griffith going? And you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm just going to fight. I'm going to think to myself, is Casca, where are the people and how can I be of any use? And I was just like, what? What the fuck are you talking about, man? Okay, pop off. Go, daddy.
So I want to point out something that this is a bit that I pointed out that I loved in my reading. I want you to imagine something for me, right? You were chosen by a regular Behelit and you couldn't sacrifice anyone and your soul got consumed by hell because you failed the contract, right?
Yeah.
You were tormented for 300 years. The eclipse comes. Hell tornado opens. Suddenly you see regular guys. Okay, that's our guy. They're picking him up. Some of your buddies bite him. Imagine you've been a soul being tormented in hell for 300 years and you get stabbed in the face, then stepped on by a normal dude. Like a dude just sticks his normal knife into your soul and then steps on it with his dirty ass boot.
This is beyond hell even.
That's so fucking funny for me to imagine. Like if you've had esoteric torture for 300 years and suddenly a normal guy is stabbing you with a normal knife and stepping on you with a normal boot. And it's like, this is maybe worse. I'm a soul.
It's injury meet insult.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look, they made rock climbing handholds for me.
Yeah. Oh, look, that's helpful. And he's still looking for Griffith. Griffith! He's calling. Oh, where's my good friend Griffith? I really need to go help him from those weird god dudes. And you're like, are you kidding right now, man? What are you even talking about? Stop trying to help Griffith and maybe try to kill him before he turns into this king of god dudes. You know what else we know that there is specific rules and ways of doing things? Is why would all these other four fingers of God, who have been around conceivably for, a great deal of time, much longer than Griffith for certain.
Yeah.
Why would they all be like, oh, we have to help. It's really important to help this fifth person get born. They're very special to the god.
I think we don't,
because there's very specific rules.
Yeah, exactly. We skipped the chapter that apparently he regretted where he goes into the mythology early. So we don't know about it, but it definitely seems like they are afraid of this god of the abyss, that like it has so much power over their existence that they're like, we got to do what we can to help our boy get his guy.
The rules are so specific that these very, very powerful dudes are like, okay, yep, we have to help him come out for God. So you know that God is a whole different level of terror, first off.
Yeah.
And that everything that appears to be chaotic is not. But the next thing that reminds you that not everything is chaotic is the faces, which you've shown here actually, when they go together, have pattern and rhythm and reason to them. And then the dead bodies in the other area are chaotic puddles of dead bodies. But it's interesting how often pattern and rhythm show up in here. And it's not just chaos. It's chaos made out of pattern and structure, which is way more scary to me for some reason. It's got that Escher-esque quality of it being having finite rules and yet still being chaotic out of the finite rules. There's something very terrifying about that.
No, I fully understand that. There was a patron who said they read Berserk as very Nietzschean, and I didn't fully see it at first. After Eclipse, I think they're 100% right, especially going into it with you. Yeah. I think the idea of self-actualizing beyond being human and approaching divinity just by recognizing yourself as a self-actualized person, I think absolutely it feels like there's Nietzschean influence. At least, if Kenny Boy hasn't read Nietzsche, there's at very least they have arrived at similar to conclusions.
Yeah, I would agree. And I kept reading people saying, like, don't talk about how this is saying that Christianity is bad. And I'm like, I do think he's just saying religion is bad, honestly.
Yeah, he's saying, I think unironically, a statement, an ethical statement of Berserk is that it weakens you to subject to the authority of the divine. It weakens you as a person to embrace the idea of a great cosmos that rules your free will, and that there is power in embracing human kindness and connection beyond what is expected of you by the imposition of the divine. Like, I think if you can read Berserk and not get that, I think you might have a personal philosophy that is blocking that concept, because whether or not you agree with the idea that it weakens you as a person to submit to the divine, that's Berserk, far as I can tell.
Yep. And in a very, very in your face, punch you right upside of the ding dong with it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel incredibly subtle with that idea. Oh, whole arcs are named after parts of Nietzsche's books. Okay, so he is a Nietzsche fan. That makes sense. Kenny Boy is Nietzschean for sure. I think you're allowed to disagree with that idea. Something that I've noticed, Japanese media goes one of two ways. It either leans into the pro main culture vibe in Japan, where it's like, yeah, we have a dragon emperor. Our emperor is descended from Amaterasu. Divine right exists. Special bloodlines are special. Gods are inherently meaningful. You should subject to the authority of your betters. And then there is alternatively that human for humankind, rebel against authority, humans shouldn't subject to the whims of the gods. And you will find Japanese media usually go hard one way or the other. And I think it's fascinating. We're going to get to the rest of it. We're not stalling. I'm not stalling. Fire Emblem Three Houses, the reason it's my favorite Fire Emblem game. Also, wasn't right. They were both right. And if they had have talked, they would have agreed. Which makes it a better game. I am done with detours. I'm sorry for having so many. I genuinely apologize. I just find this all so interesting philosophically.
That's where the sauce gets made. Okay, so once upon a time, this dude guts goes up. He screams at Griffith. Griffith is like, go fuck yourself. I choose you, Pikachu, and I'm about to be a god and pop off. This whole thing where he took the concept that Oda has, which is supposed to be this great good thing.
I think this was before.
What is done here is it gets sexually assaulted, because he says, out of everyone, among the 1,000 comrades and tens of thousands of enemies, you're the only one who made me forget my dream. And because of that, he chooses to turn into an evil divinity. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because, unlike One Piece, where the dream is so important, but you can see the dream changing and growing, in this one, there is a rigidity that means because of the rigidity of the dream is now toxic.
Yeah. And that's something I find so interesting. Like, and we see the difference between a character like Griffith and Luffy in that when Luffy loses his friends, he only cares about that and forgets about wanting to be king of the pirates and his other dreams, because his dream has changed. It has been to accomplish his dream with his friends. That's what matters. He needs them to do it. Whereas Griffith is like, oh, you became more important than my dream. I hate you. That's
exactly.
And it's so interesting because I see so many other places that the philosophies of One Piece and Berserk seem to really agree.
And yet this one is,
but Berserk really treats this ambition as so dark.
But it's almost like a warning that if your dreams don't change, if your dreams aren't willing to articulate themselves, then your dream becomes toxic. That a rigid dream is a dangerous weapon. Mm-hmm. And if you think about leadership and about people of the world, it's the rigidity and the ability to not change that is probably the most dangerous thing that you can be. It means that you're the exact opposite of humanity, because humanity is adaptation.
I love it because it's so, can we talk about how cool that is? Especially how responsible it is in a Nietzschean series, because Nietzsche has inspired horrible, horrible philosophies because of this idea of, oh, you self-actualize by imagining yourself above others. Okay, this is kind of Nietzschean, but it creates a built-in safeguard in its philosophy that shows you why you can't embrace that ideal to its nth, because Griffith is also self-actualized in a way that is horrible and toxic and damning. Griffith is a character who harms others by his Nietzschean self-fulfillment. And we see in Guts kind of the opposite, the healthy embrace, the healthy imagining of oneself as immortal. I don't know. There's something so cool about that we defy the weaknesses, the darkness of the Nietzschean philosophy by having a character like Griffith be this condemnation of ambition almost.
Yeah, and I would just like to say it again in a different way, because I think that the way that he says that is, he says what I was trying to say goes hand in hand, is what he's saying is the inability to change, adapt, and grow and evolve is the opposite of humanity. Mm-hmm. Because humanity is gaining new information and saying like, okay, new information, I've fallen in love. My priorities have now shifted to some of the priorities of this person. New information, the planet is at risk. My priorities have to take into account the saving of an environment that keeps us alive. And he's saying, if your goal or your dream takes all precedence, doesn't adapt, evolve, or change as you adapt, evolve, and change, so it means you're not adapting, evolving, and changing, you can't, because your dream isn't. And therefore, you are now a monster. You're no longer part of humanity. And we see Griffith do that, and the result is he is separated from humanity.
This makes me think about the scene that I love, the beautiful scene where Griffith sees what was possible if he had have stayed with Casca. What you're talking about makes me connect that with Casca saying, why do you have to become something else? Why do you have to go on? Why can't we just be together? But she also was doing the same thing as Guts, because what Guts was doing, right? What Guts was doing was trying to become his own person to impress Griffith, to become his friend. And he couldn't let that go. He couldn't let the idea of being Griffith's equal go. So he couldn't accept that. But Casca was doing the same thing, because she wasn't offering to leave right now. She was offering to leave and live together after they save Griffith. She was still also hung up on him, unwilling to let him go, unwilling to accept that he had abandoned the Hawks to flex his manhood with a 17-year-old girl. Both of them were still inflexible. They still were hung up on Griffith.
And yet they both ended up getting some flexibility, because both of them did. They both fell in love with each other. And he said things like, well, you want to be his equal, then you're going to need to leave. And she kept saying, you need to be able to see the movement and the staying. And so you could see the reason that I think that one picture in the beginning of the chapter bothered me and hurt me so bad when she was leaning on him is you could see an ease in their relationship that they were coming towards, that there was a path in which they were going to have flexibility and love. And instead they were going to be forced in this new direction.
That section becomes so brilliant, seeing how many possible futures it shows you before the one we get. And then, I just realized, it shows you so many possible futures in small interactions. It shows you a possible future in a big flash forward. But then it also shows you a fortune teller, showing the future that we've been assured by the god of the abyss and saying it is only going to hurt us to avoid this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just realized that. We see a fortune teller around the same area where we're seeing all the possible futures. Fuck, that's brilliant.
You know what else is brilliant? Rickard. Can we just get a hell yeah for Rickard?
Hell yeah, Rickard.
He's just standing there outside of the freaking death-capade tornado. And he's like, oh, this is bad. Hey, why is Zodd here again? Like, is Rickard made out of the sternest stuff in the history of ever?
Oh, man. Rickard.
I hope we see Rickard again not being eaten.
Yeah, good. I mean, you know what's crazy to think about? The team of demons of the apostles of the God Hand deciding not to eat Rickard is the reason Guts survived.
Yes, exactly.
If they had have let that moth lady eat Rickard, none of this. Literally, the rest of the series is over. Guts bleeds out, Casca bleeds out, and Rickard is sad.
Yeah.
That's how the series ends, baby. We're Team Rickard here now.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna put Rickard up on the most goated pedestal.
Hell yeah, Rickard. Skull Knight saved Guts. I mean, Skull Knight saved Guts multiple times over. Skull Knight saved Guts over and over again.
Knight saved Guts, but Rickard brought the whole information down. And he's just like, oh, look, it's Zodd. Hey, why is Zodd here?
Why is Zodd fighting the terrifying Skull Knight who has spared my life?
Isn't that the Skull Knight dude who was there when everyone in my group was eaten? Oh, that's weird that he's just here. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to stand here and watch this.
God damn.
I'm not even going to start running away.
God damn. It's all so good and so painful. I think for the sake of it, we got to just cut to Griffith's choice.
So then Griffith comes out, and Griffith has decided that his first act as a god, as an unlimited power
I think before we do that, we have to talk about the scene where Ubik shows him a vision of him as a child choosing to get to the castle. I think that scene's too important to go past.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah, no.
His response is clearly distressed, and I think the two ways you can read this are either he doesn't want to do this, or he doesn't like confronting that this is who he is, as most Griffith scenes are, that you can't really tell if he really is hesitant or if it's that he doesn't like having to realize that that's who he is. Because he's clearly distressed in this vision.
I don't know if he is distressed, but I think it's just meant to show us an uncomfortability, just like death is an uncomfortable change. That for me, it's just more like he has already made the choice, but this is the result of the choice is his death, and death is uncomfortable.
I understand to an extent. You're all wrong, but I understand to an extent the Griffith apologist agenda, because looking at this, well, let me finish. Looking at this scene, I see in here the ability to read this as he has created a justifying mechanism. He has created a mechanism in his brain to justify everything. We've seen it before, which is, if I stop now, everyone who's died is in vain. And he is told again, they're going to die no matter what. We're killing them. If you sacrifice them, you at least get the goal everyone else died for. It's playing on that sunk cost fallacy, exactly, that he's been using to justify his ascent. Because this entire time, he's been like, I have to keep going despite the fact that someone died for me. And the reason I think that's written so well here is because he is drawn as a little boy with a toy, framed in the same way the kid who died following him was. And then we see that kid show up again as the thing that confronts him.
And he carries his body.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that justifying mechanism in his brain is being played on here, of all of their deaths are for nothing if you don't do this. Now, am I saying he's not a narcissist? No, but I'm saying he wants to be the hero, and I think it hurts him to not be able to think of it that way.
And yet, still don't apologize for him.
No. I'm saying I see part of what they're seeing. Do I agree? No, Griffith.
No, but I don't see what he's seeing. I just see how he could manipulate it.
Fair. That is a good distinction.
Yeah. Because I'm like, oh no, I can't. I would never. I could never. I would never. But on the other hand, I could see how you could use it as a justifying tool. I still think you should be I still think that.
So again, I want to highlight someone saying, but I think he did feel bad about the soldiers' deaths. That's why he slept with Genin. But when we reach that part, Mama Drawk pointed out, again, you can't tell, because he then also shows why it was the most pragmatic choice. He lists all the pragmatic reasons for it. And you could say he's using the pragmatism to cover for his sentimentality because he sees it as a weakness, because Griffith does see love as a weakness. That's the thing he says all the time. You could also see it as he only did it because he's a pragmatist. And that's why I love the way Griffith is written. Almost everything he does is written two ways, and that fucking rules. And I think it is fair to give him at all times both the least and most charitable reading, because I think he's supposed to be a complex character. Now, because we have to throw the least forgiving way in, he comes across like a dickbag who should be.
Yeah. Oh God, no, 100%.
Yeah. So now that we've done the transformation, I think we can go to what you were going to start with.
Okay, so you become a god, right? Like, you're supposed to be this all-powerful able to do anything human being now. You're a god now. That's a pretty big deal. I'm not gonna lie. I've heard about it. Other people have described what becoming a god is like, and they describe it as being pretty powerful.
I'm stopping you again because I realized we actually didn't talk about Judeau and Pippin's death, which we promised we would earlier.
We talked about it. He died.
I'll say Pippin's death and hollowing out harrowed me, and I really hope Guts remembered that Slug Dad's who did it so that he could get vengeance and know, because there's a lot going on. Guts might not remember.
Yeah, I really hope so too.
Judeau's death was perfect for me. The characterization of his death gave both of us empathy and understanding of each other's perspectives on Judeau.
It absolutely did. We both had a little moment where we're like, okay, yeah. Okay.
We've more met in the middle around Judeau by his death, because it framed so much about why he's been acting this way, where it becomes both a little bit more contemptible for me how he's been treating Casca, and more understandable for you, because instead of it being this blatant disrespect, it's a human failing, but instead of, for me, it being this certainty, it is a human failing. And I think that's so cool.
Exactly.
There's also tragedy of him dying, cursing the fact that he can't talk anymore because he can't say the one thing he's wanted to say. That actually, I teared up, despite my silly voices. I'm tearing up a little now, thinking about someone dying and their last thoughts are, those are my last words. I wish I could still talk because I can't tell you I love you. Oh my God, that hurt me.
Yeah. And for me, I was like, okay, so this is interesting, because in my world, I was like, yeah, she doesn't need to know that.
Nope. But it's still sad that he didn't get to tell her.
That's like, I'm sad for you. I am sad for you, but she doesn't need that extra bullshit.
Yeah, she's kind of got a lot on her plate at the moment, bud.
She's got a lot going on. She doesn't need to hear about how you loved her all along. And you should keep it to yourself anyways. It's not her fucking business.
I also fucking love Casca, because he hits before his eyes go out and he can't see, because his throwing knife hits, but then Casca needs to stop moving to kill it. And he's like, did I get it? And she just leaves out the part where she got the killing blow and is just like, yeah, you did it. Oh my God, that was so sweet.
Yeah, you did. You 100% did this. I was like, oh,
fucking, because he just wants to feel like he saved her.
And that's how you do last moments.
Oh my God.
She did that last moment.
Good job, Casca. Good girl.
I was just like, yeah. Good job. Once again,
it might have been a familial love, but it might have been romantic. But it's sad that he didn't get to say it either way. But if it was romantic, it makes sense. She was already in love with two men. Like, why would you throw more on her plate? Plus, do you want to stack up to Griffith and Guts when it comes to the aura game?
I'm not like, oh, can I throw my hat in that ring? No.
Let me compare to the elf boys. And then the last thing that I want to bring up before I will absolutely, and I promise, let you go into it. I think the way Corcus's death was handled was brilliant. The reason is Corcus has been built up as the most contemptible hawk from the beginning. Do you like Corcus? I hate that bitch, right?
No, I don't like that person at all.
No one likes Corcus. Corcus is shit. And we see his death. And look at the expressions in it. Look at the way he draws poses. It's not drawn like any of the other deaths. It's drawn as slapstick. It's drawn as comedy, because you hate Corcus and you need a breather. You won't get through the eclipse without a moment to breathe. You literally couldn't. You need a second. So he gives us this slapstick, like 5-page death of Corcus. But then at the very end, we see Corcus as a sad, scared man, where he's panicking and just happy to be embraced by a woman. And we know what's about to happen. And we have this long moment to be dragged back into the misery we need to go back to, as we finally see him as someone we can pity. Someone we can have a little sympathy for.
I didn't have pity for him. You know what I had? I was like, good. Death by titty, bitch. That's perfect for you.
Okay. I got dragged back in. I think it was handled really well. I think it was done really, really well.
I think it was handled brilliantly, but I think that he owed me a death by titty, and I was really glad to see it.
Oh my God. So Fighter first pointed out that Judeau being in love with Casca points out something so brilliant, because from the beginning, he's been the one who's on the outside, who's like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm here sometimes, who wasn't as swept up with Griffith's charisma, because he wasn't with them for Griffith. That's why he never became a proper soldier. That's why he kept being this dashing rogue. He was there for Casca, and that's why oh my God.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for me, the whole death of the little cow, when it's a woman who comes up to him while he's naked and is like, all right, here I go, Croquet. Oh, look at this. You're going to just immediately lean in and start nibbling on some woman's boobies, even in this kind of world. Yeah, no, good. I'm glad you're going to die from a woman. I'm glad the person who's going to kill you, the monster who's going to take you out, is a woman. It makes me so happy. It couldn't actually be happier.
I do like that for him, but I do still think that it was really well done to give us a break, but then drag us back into the horror. Whether or not he deserved to die more than anybody else there.
It was fun to watch him die, which was concerning. I was like, oh no.
I mean,
why am I so excited about this dude's death?
Talk about Guts' reaction.
Well, I just like when Guts, it's not that big of a deal for me because Guts was stupid. And then finally he was like, oh, he's a really bad guy. Oh, he's going to be a devil.
I think him seeing.
And you're like, are you shitting me right now?
I think him seeing what had been done to the Hawks really hit me. I did get got. It's a thing
I didn't get got until after the Hawks were being murder-lated and he was like, oh my God, what?
Yeah, because he was up there and didn't realize what was already happening. Then he goes down and sees, oh no. I think it's a trick that Kenny Boy used a lot of giving us a point of view character to recontextualize stuff that we're trying to distance ourselves from. And it lets you get the second impact, kind of. I think Ken uses point of view characters better than almost any author.
I would agree. But I would also say that it made me be like, how does it take one man that long to figure shit out? Like, Griffith is out there sucking at major levels out loud, and Guts is like, I'm coming for you, Griffith. And I'm like, dude, seriously? Come the fuck on. And then he's like, here I come. I'm going to save you. I'm going to cling to the arm of this bad guy here, this god. And you're like, dude.
Okay.
Come on. Go!
Griffith wouldn't betray us. Actually, he will. I'm not going to listen to someone who's in public. Actually, he will. I'm not going to listen to a bizarre balloon. Void is like, no, he's going to betray us. Well, the brain guy has a point.
God, man!
You listen to him? Well, he has a big brain. I can see it.
I was so glad when we finally got the frickin' him being on board with what Griffith was brain. I was like... Good. Can we move on?
Although, something I didn't notice until you just said that, doesn't it kind of add something that he did delay coming into it because we get to see, instead of a slow realization, which would be way less Guts-like, we get to see a snap, which is so perfect for his character.
Yeah, it's perfect for his character in the way that he's behaving like an idiot.
Yeah, because he's a dummy. He's just a little dummy.
Oh, the level of loyalty. And I know that we're supposed to be like, that's how Guts moves on. His level of loyalty is the thing that is so impressive, that even though he has his own dreams, loyalty often overshadows those dreams and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, oh my God, man, he's the devil.
Someone saying Guts didn't read the prologue is so true. Are you ready to lead us into the darkness?
For me, what was really, really profound is that Griffith changes into a god. He's reborn. They put him in, the picture has him in the fetal position, turning back into an embryo, having himself melt and become transparent, rebuilt in the image of a weird-ass god with leather wings and strange feetsies, being literally reborn as a phoenix, calling himself a Griffith, and now he's being reborn as a phoenix, and becoming this thing, whatever the hell he is. And in this power and in who he is, and I understand he doesn't understand the reaches of his power yet, his first act is to R-word who was his right-hand person. To hurt the only person who could have made him forget about his dream, as an act of showing him that he had complete control over his life and could do whatever he wanted with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reason that it was just so wild is I was just like, out of everything you could do, you're still, even as a god, just a petty man. You're just a pathetic man. And that's what's... I hate to say this phrase about this scene, but that's why it's perfect. Because this is who he is. This is the crutch he's leaned on to make himself feel masculine and powerful over and over again. His ability to conquer others and control them. And it's not
It's not always this exactly, but throwing people into a place where they'll be hurt, taking advantage of people, getting them to do things they don't want to.
Yeah.
These are the actions Griffith takes to reassert his masculinity. And we've seen this specifically. He does it to Charlotte. He tried to do it to Casca earlier.
He does it to Charlotte, and it is the first thing he does as a god, which I think basically says, I am the same shitty petty man I was before I was
The
a
only
god.
difference is he can do it.
I've just brought all of the aspects.
He's rewarded for it.
The only difference is now you can't stop. Yeah.
Ugh. It's gross and
it's terrible. It's disgusting. But it tells us as a audience, now you see he already was the devil and he continues to be the devil.
The scene, hey, believe it or not, didn't like getting through it. Sucked, painful, bad. It tells you so much. It is talking to it back over with you, seeing how much it reflects on Griffith's character, how much it makes him, like how much this scene shows you how little he's changed, and how this power, again, instead of using it immediately to show off, oh, I'm a god in a meaningful way, he just uses it to reaffirm his masculinity the same way he was before. Literally the same weakness.
He was going to do to her before. Like, he was going to do that, but he couldn't manage to do that before because he was too weak of body. So it's the first thing that he does when he becomes a god.
And
a god is going to this task off I was going to do before, but I couldn't because I wasn't man enough, but now I am.
And what I just realized is really, really interesting. Of course, he feels the need to reaffirm his masculinity. He has just seen the man he saw as a possession become something that everyone around him is acknowledging as more than a human. And how did he do it? Through hard work and focus, through believing he can, through being willing to risk everything every time. Guts has become the being that Griffith saw himself entitled to be. It cost Griffith everything, and all it cost Guts was risking everything. Of course he's pissed off. Of course he feels the need to show off that he's better. Of course everything he can think about in this moment is about hurting and destroying Guts, because Guts, just by being him, is proving himself better than Griffith.
And just to be clear here, Guts is still better than Griffith. I just want to make that clear.
I agree. Guts is a good boy. He do his best.
I don't know if he's a good boy or not, but he's still better than Griffith.
I mean, yeah. By Berserk standards,
pretty
he's a
low
saint.
bar, though. Pretty low bar. Griffith, no, I heard that some people talk about how she liked it.
Yeah, that's actually, hey, everybody, fucked up. That
is it. If you're one of those people, put yourself in the corner.
Yeah. Guts killed the child, but he felt bad about it. By Berserk standards, saintly to feel bad about killing a child.
Yeah, he didn't like that he killed him, and therefore he's the best dad.
Guts for best dad.
No, it said it's gonna come back in ew.
It's gonna be horrible. It's gonna be it's gonna grow up really fast and be a horrible thing we have to deal with over and over again.
Yeah, I don't like that kid. I think we shouldn't bring that kid back.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you're part of the She Liked It crowd, you need to repent. You need to actually repent. Like for real. Like for real.
Yes, you bet. For real.
Fix that opinion you have. That literally, if you think that can be a justification, repent. Like if your brain goes to that as an argument, go out of it. Did this scene lean too far into sexualization? I'm so torn on that, because it did sometimes sometimes feel like it was almost glorifying in that, and that's really uncomfortable.
It did.
Yeah, you're just gonna say it did for sure?
No, it just did.
I think that's my leaning.
I have done nothing but think about that. I was like, did this go too far? Blah blah blah. And I kept trying to think about, like, okay, what was his reasoning and da-da-da. And I started to think about the position he put her in with.
So I think
words here. Okay. Come out and her with her.
So,
and that I was like, no, man, you really went for the.
So. Can I
wait a minute? It's countdown. Hey, YouTube, this is the perfect time. What you don't know is I just said some stuff that you won't have to hear. Don't watch the VOD. And that's why I just want to say, you should come live, hang out with us on Twitch. That's where you get to hear the real stuff. They have the opportunity to talk to us and to share their opinions, which changes the way that we interact with this piece and with One Piece. Come and hang out. And if you find value in this and you've enjoyed it at all, press like, press subscribe if you really enjoyed it. Come and join our Patreon.
Hey everybody, if you like manga, every week on Sunday, after stream, before stream, I'll figure it out. I'm going to be doing live reads with the patrons, and it's been amazing. Give me a One Piece character and I'll show my incredible voices.
Well, I would give you Luffy, but we all know I'm Luffy.
You're a very good Luffy, yeah. I installed this so I can do this now.
Now listen here, I'm Jaguar D. Soul, and I have a bridge to sell you.
So I can do that now.
Okay, well, that's goddamn miraculous.
Yeah, I installed voice mods and I've learned hotkeys.
Can anybody do that? Because I want to talk in weird voices now.
We're also bringing back letters from our crew. So if any of the crew ever want to leave a message, the crew being our highest tier on Patreon, we will read them out on stream. My favorite thing about this program has been getting to mix our insights with yours. I think that's where we arrive at the coolest conclusions. You guys blow my mind. Thank you to the crew, Dark A. Kuro, Dreco Meme, and Dr. Jack. I have reflected on this also. And the thing I'll say about the position and everything, I see Griffith as someone who is so up his own ass that he needs to, in doing this, recreate the idea of, no, it's okay because I know she wants me. So that's why it is positioned the way it is. As far as the actual art, yeah, it feels too sexualizing.
I don't think he even cares about that anymore. I don't even think he gives a fuck
he
about
does,
that.
and the reason is because I think the series is about how calling yourself a god doesn't mean anything, and he's still a weak, pathetic man.
I mean, yes, he is still weak, pathetic man. I will not deny that. But I think that he just cares about, this is a thing I want. It's a thing I tried to start, but I didn't have the ability to do it. And now I do. So I'm going to finish it off. And at the same time, I'm going to crush the soul of Guts, because it matters to me that Guts feels broken. But I was like, you could have done that without, there were 3 images that I was like, no.
Yeah, it definitely, like, the art of it felt like it wasn't in the right way. Something that I want to touch on that someone pointed out while I was reading that I think is brilliant. This is something they said they realized because of our conversation about Berserk and gender, about how dehumanization and degenderization are played, that this is the first time that Griffith is treating Casca as a woman. She has been a tool until now, like I pointed out earlier when he threw himself on top of her. But this is a punishment for his swords no longer being swords, for them falling in love and becoming real people. He is punishing them and attempting to destroy their humanity. He sees the humanity they've given themselves through their love and through acceptance of themselves as a betrayal, and he is trying to destroy what they have gained from loving each other, from becoming close, from trusting each other.
But even more than that, I see this as Griffith punishing them for getting to be human and for not having a need to be something more and finding love in each other enough. And that he is punishing them for their ability to just find joy in being enough for each other and their ability to find joy in being a human. Because it isn't something he could ever do.
Interesting. And people are pointing out literally corrupted their love. Yeah, that's also true.
He's the worst of the worst of the worst.
Griffith, hey, Kenny boy, you've managed to create, I wish you were alive so that I could somehow hope that my words would reach you. Because as a writer, you have created possibly the most sickening villain of all time. And that's not easy. People would think, well, you just have them do evil stuff. But like, that isn't enough.
No.
Having someone seem to understand their evil so much, having a world where you feel what could be so palpably, where you have a segment about the possibilities of what could have been right before this all breaks. There's so many levels that were needed to make Griffith be so horrible, and god damn is he. Like, props for just making the worst
Literally
guy.
the fucking worst guy ever.
Unreal level of worst guy.
Yeah, I actually said to myself when I was reading this, like, Who can even make a villain this bad?
Yeah. I also want to say someone saying he had all the tools to be heroic, but I think kind of what this story is about is that this is a world, like the world doesn't always let you choose that seeing yourself as a hero is the problem. The fact that Griffith thought he was a hero is how we ended up here, because the world put him in a situation where to follow through on what he saw as his heroic right to accomplish great things, he had to become what he did and saw his mission, his heroism as more important. Like, this to me is just not a story about, oh, you could have been a hero. It's about, why did you want to be?
Yeah, I would agree.
Wyald is worse. Like, that's what I'm saying. Wyald isn't worse, and that's why you can't have a villain that just feels like they're doing shit. Wyald just felt like he was doing evil shit. The understanding of what he's doing and the intentionality genuinely makes Griffith feel worse to me.
Wyald isn't worse.
Yeah.
No, because the difference between Wyald and Griffith, like, Wyald was a man at one time. He was a shitty man who didn't like himself, who was ugly, undervalued, probably treated poorly, and then took out all his anger on everyone and became this thing.
Yeah.
Griffith was a hot, charismatic, interesting person who led armies. He didn't need to become this shit person to have an incredible life.
He could have just been the best mercenary.
Have sympathy for, exactly. There's some sympathy that you have built in for Wyald, even though that in itself is a crazy thing to say, because you're like, yeah, you suck ass, but you were a shit person before who was ugly, who no one cared about, and you abused the power. Are you the worst? No, you're the second worst.
Actually, can we let's highlight. I think I've just realized in what you said, it made me think of something that highlights exactly how fucked up Griffith's insatiability is, right? Griffith is in a situation where he is a low-born peasant. He was a homeless orphan. He grew up on the streets, and with his charisma and his looks, his skill and his work, he had found men who loved him. He had found accomplishment, a fast track to being knighted and becoming nobility. He was with the princess of a country in a private conversation. And when asked if he had friends, when asked if his men were the romantic ideal of friends, he went out of his way to explain why they can't be, because he's better. Why is he better? Well, because he's been faced with incredible opportunity. He's been faced with the potential to have a great life, to be the most renowned knight in the kingdom, to be beloved by thousands. And don't say he was lying. Let me finish. And he expresses why he's better than them, because that's not enough. The thing that makes him so good, the thing that makes him better than others, the thing that is meaningful, that makes him this self-actualized man, is that a good life as the most celebrated knight, a rise to fame, the love of a princess who, given enough time and not the drastic, horrible circumstances, maybe the king would come around to him loving his daughter.
If he hadn't have said, I don't know, sexually abused her and assaulted.
Yeah. If it had have happened slowly over time, if he had have done more good, if he had have saved her even more, there's so much possibility he had.
He had moved up higher in the ranks.
And he brags to her about how he's better than the others because this isn't enough, because I need more.
Yeah.
Look, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's fun to interact with chat as though they're cutting me off. But I'm telling you, like, that should tell you what you need to know about him. He brags about being dissatisfied with the best life you could ask for and more.
The best life any of them could ask for in the circumstances that they're in.
Yeah. Like, had everything. And he saw it as a mark of pride that he needed more to be happy.
Yeah. He was beyond proud. He was like, I am so much better than everyone else that despite being hot, charismatic, intelligent, despite having the loyalty of others to a weird degree, none of that is enough for me. I am worth more than that.
Yeah. Hey, do you love Skull Knight as much as I do?
Okay, I don't want to, but I do. I have a weird thing with Skull Knight. I just kind of really like him. I don't know that that's good. I think he's going to let me down so badly. He says, I'm he basically says, oh, hey, I'm going to let you down so badly.
I actually want to pause on this because I think something that's reflective of a lot of people. I think you were swept up in the Griffith charm. If you look at Griffith's scene and see him as that only being a lie, sorry for going off. This irks me. The idea that like he was lying, it doesn't represent his true ideals. He acted on them. What do you mean it doesn't reflect them? He said those men were just tools to accomplish what he needed to, and they couldn't be his equals because he dreamed of more. The eclipse is about him treating them as tools to accomplish more. Those are his real ideals. Yep. You can't act on something you've said are your ideals and have that not count. Is there a part of him?
And then say that's not my
yeah. Is there a part of him who's also angry that Guts is such a great presence that he wanted to abandon his dream? Yes. Did he partially say what he did to himself to be like, no, Guts can't be my friend? Absolutely. But he still sacrificed Guts. He did that. He did sacrifice Guts for the exact ideals you're saying he doesn't have. You cannot say they aren't true when he sacrificed everyone who loved him for those exact ideals. He didn't say he didn't love them. He said they weren't his friends. That's different.
What I felt like while I was watching all the things he was doing, he kept telling us who he was. He kept telling us what his values were, what he believed in, what he didn't believe in, what he wanted, how he saw his quote unquote friends who were actually just people who were tools for him. How he said that he had to do these things because he was willing to sacrifice people. He told us earlier, yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice people. Why not? I need to make it up there. But if I'm going to sacrifice them, I'm also going to have to put myself out there. That was his original deal. And then as time progressed, he realized, well, what if I didn't have to put myself out there? What if I could just sacrifice?
Yep. Like you just, I get it. I get that the story is written to show his humanity as well, but the story is about him not choosing that side. It doesn't matter if it was also there. It literally doesn't. If there's someone in your life who deep down loves you, but they abuse you, they treat you like shit, they treat you like a tool, they would throw you under the bus to get what they want, and it makes them mad that they love you, fuck that person. Why are you going to say no, but they really love me? No, fuck them. Seriously. Get away from that person. Keep them out of your life. Because if you can look at the way Griffith goes and actually sacrifices people, oh, but he only sacrificed them after he blamed them for losing everything. Yeah, fuck him. It was his fault. It was literally his fucking fault he lost everything. He didn't have to fuck Charlotte. He didn't have to say what he said when I still think he knew Guts could hear him. He didn't have to push away everyone who made him feel like a man, a real human man. He didn't have to do that. So if you have someone in your life and you're going to defend them to me and say, no, but I should keep them around because they really love me. And big face mode for this. You guys get big face mode for this.
Now you've done it. You're in big face.
If you can look at someone in your life who uses you, treats you like shit, treats you like a tool, sees you as lesser, but then occasionally gets fucking pissed off because you make them feel like a human person, because they feel connected to you, because they feel love for you, so they treat you worse. If that person's in your life, stop defending them. Stop pretending like they haven't earned every bit of contempt you feel. It doesn't fucking matter if deep down Griffith feels bad. It doesn't matter if deep down he feels like, oh, I had to. It doesn't matter if he blamed them first. That doesn't make it better. That makes it worse because he looked at something that was objectively his fault, that objectively he did. He did this. He got himself tortured. He fucked Charlotte. He threw his plans away because he felt like he wasn't a man anymore because he lost a fucking sword fight. That's what happened. And then he blamed everyone else and then threw them aside. That's what you should care about.
He lost a sword fight to his best friend, too. Yes. He loses a sword fight to his best friend. Any normal person would be like, wow, I've done a lot to teach this person. They've become such a warrior now, and they're in my army. This is amazing. I am such a lucky person.
He could see that as brilliant and see it as a reason to try to inspire Guts to have loyalty, to respect him as an equal, to be like, you're right, you should be my general when I'm king. There's so many reactions he could have had. So again, I want you to reflect. If you're looking at Griffith, if you are looking at him and saying, no, that's not what he meant, you are genuinely, and I mean this as an actual warning to you, I think you are vulnerable to abusive people. If you can look at someone who's done nothing but hurt everyone around him, hurt everyone who loves them, who's willing to do literally anything to them, and your reaction can be to say they didn't mean it, I think you are genuinely vulnerable to abuse because that's abusers. That's how they operate. Griffith is an abuser. We are seeing him do horrors, do them. And then we're saying because he might feel something else that makes him angrier, he's okay. No, check yourself. If you are looking at this and saying nobody didn't mean it, look at the people around you. See if you're making these excuses, because this means you're okay with people hurting you if you can feel like they didn't mean it. That's all. That's all. Big face mode can end, but I need you to check this. I want the best for you people, so please check this. Sorry for going off.
No, I would like to reiterate that. That's a deep concern because that's how abusers get away with things. People with real empathy coming against people without real empathy. And so they are able to make excuses for them because they're thoughtful, empathetic people.
Mm-hmm. Abusers seek out empathetic people because they know they're more likely to listen to the excuses. They know they're more likely to be vulnerable to this. They know they're more likely to want to see the best in them. And I think that's dangerous. Yep. I think that's something to watch out for.
Oh, you don't have to think it's dangerous. It's just dangerous.
Okay. And this isn't to be mad at you. If you're in that camp, this isn't to be mad. This is a genuine warning to reflect on the people around you. I think we can move on to Skull Knight saving everybody. Hey, you're saying he saved literally 2 people? Skull Knight saved 100% of the people who were alive in there.
Oh my God.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You really just pulled that out, didn't you? Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is not a lie.
100% success rate, Skull Knight.
Don't forget, he also saved Rickard on the outside.
Yeah.
Who has no self-preservation now. Apparently watching everyone getting eaten, the effect it had on Rickard is, really crazy shit can happen. So whatever.
Imagine you're Rickard. This is Rickard's like day. Rickard's day is be me in camp. Our job is literally to wait. Okay? Our job is literally to wait here. That's all. Okay. Everyone's fucking dead. There's monsters beyond imagining here. One of them says, don't kill them. What? Run into a trading caravan, hang out with them for a bit. Fortune teller gives me magic dust. Okay. Well, I'm going to go meet my friends. Buy magic dust traders. Oh, there's a tornado to hell. Oh, giant minotaur demon.
You also had to hear the rumors, be like, oh shit, really crazy shit has happened. That's how I know where they're going to be now. Get there and be like, oh, what's that death tornado thing? Oh, Zodd's here? Oh, the dude who was there eating my friends is here. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, the guy who ate all his friends is there. The Skull Knight who stopped him from being eaten is there. He's just literally standing outside Hell Tornado, watches them fight for a while. His brutalized friends fly out of the tornado with a man on a flying horse. And what a day Rickards have. Frankly, with how fucked all that is, he got off so easy with his sentence at the end of this being to be the nurse for a mentally ill woman on Hell's hit list.
I can't even with her.
It's so sad.
The fact that she's alive is so much worse.
You had the exact same reaction as me. Did you know that?
Really?
Mama Drawk called me right as she survived and was like, oh yeah, she's going to Minecraft herself. I said that to chat while I was reading because it's so much harder to imagine reading the series with that lingering hope of Casca being better while Guts is wandering around the world. It's so much harder. It's so much harder to imagine than if she was dead.
Yeah, it's way worse.
It's
the fact that she's alive and she is now the person that she is with the life that she has.
I don't genuinely, the authors created a situation where it doesn't feel like, oh, you're going to say she's gone catatonic because no, of course she has. And of course she has. Of course Guts doesn't trust anybody anymore. Of course Casca's like that. Literally, of course.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay, now we have to have hope as he goes through the world that they might get to be back together and have a life.
We have to hope because it's there, and we got shown what the future could be. We are forced to. We're forced to have in the back of our mind the hope that we know won't come true. But it's a series about how you have to keep fighting for those hopes. So of course she's alive. This series could only have her alive.
Yeah, so every single time we go anywhere and Guts is gonna possibly die, now we have to be like, oh, Now he can't get back to Casca.
But it has to be that way.
Yeah, obviously.
I feel so dumb that we didn't see it, but it makes sense. She couldn't have died because this can't be a series about struggling on for hope if he had nothing to lose. That wouldn't work.
Well, we both said, is it possible that he has nothing to lose and that's why he decides to just go all out and make the thing that he lives for is just getting revenge on Griffith. And you could see that, but it's way harder if it's like, I have to win this war, because if I don't win this war, what's going to happen to Casca?
And beyond that, even if she gets better, if he can't kill Griffith, she can't know peace.
Yeah, because she's a sacrifice.
She's marked by him. Oh, it's so much more beautiful and so much harder.
Yeah,
it's both of those.
It's pretty not good.
It's really bad.
Yeah, when she was going to live, I called you and was like, no.
It's so hard. I was thinking she'd Minecraft herself and that'd be so much easier.
It would be so much better if she Minecrafted herself.
That's not what you want to say, but it's true. Oh, so it's actually brutal.
I love, though, that we have him say that this is nothing different than anything else. This is still just a war. That's all this is.
Yep.
Don't try to tell me that this is some strange hell thing. I don't care about anything that you say or anything that you say it could be. To me, all this is war. And the war never ended. I'm still fighting a war.
And that's so Nietzschean, because he doesn't see this as above him. He's like, yeah, this is just me doing my thing. It continues. Right. If I don't give it the validity of being beyond me, it isn't.
But it's also self-preservation.
Yep.
That it's what Casca said earlier. Quit trying to see all the weirdness of this. Just focus on what you can do. He's like, I'm not going to see this as some strange hell fight and some weird rules. This is still just war, and I know how to deal with war.
The fact that she has the mark and can't leave is so essential to his revenge quest making sense. Because if she was like mentally sound, I could see him being like, you're right, let's just live a normal life, and stopping and living there and living in that cave.
And letting the world get taken over.
Yep, because of what she said, because she was right. There isn't shame in just living. And if he was the only survivor, in retrospect, it would feel like it's going against the themes we've learned in this prologue. It would feel like it goes against these themes for him to need to get revenge instead of trying to live. But he has to do it for her because she is alive.
Exactly.
God.
Yeah, the choice to keep her alive, once you read all the way through and you get past it, you're like, that had to happen. It's so obvious that it had to happen.
It's all they could do, and it sucks, and I hate it.
And I wish she was dead. Oh no, I feel terrible.
Berserk is a series where we both wish our favorite character was dead. I think she's my favorite. It's her or Guts. It's hard to say.
I love her so much, but she makes me so sad now.
Right?
Oh,
it's so fucked up, dude.
She just crushes.
There's also like,
carry on.
Oh, someone's saying in the Black Swordsman you can see the corrupted child. It's literally following its father. That's fucked.
No,
that's fucked. That shouldn't be happening. I didn't realize. That's fucked. Don't do that to me. We also should probably address the Guts and Casca's baby and that scene. That hurts.
What page is the most important page on?
So many people pointed out when I read this, they were like, maybe you were onto something about the ears. Like people were like, shit, I didn't remember that line.
I read this.
You bring it home.
I can't believe you didn't immediately, because you remember when I told you that I kept walking outside? When I read this, I like stood up, took my book over to the computer screen, pointed at all the squishies and said, told you so.
Told you so, motherfucker.
So as he goes through, he's on the horse with Mr. Skull Rider of Joy, and they're going back to the place where Casca is, and he says to him, I am a foe of the Inhumans, and that's all I'm going to say. And that we need to come back to, because like Skull Dude is duding in that moment.
Skull Dude's so cool.
He is beyond cool. He's kind of hot, and I'm upset about it. And then and then he goes, why'd you bring us to these mountains? I never told anyone else about this place. And he goes, well, I merely brought you to the nearest safe place to the otherworldly gate. Formerly, elves lived in these mountains. Even though elves have left, the energy is strong here. and it was the most suitable place in which to hide from those people of darkness. I didn't know you had some connection to this place. It was chance. And then he goes, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, likewise, what saved you from death was elf dust that your friend had by chance with him. And he goes, elf dust? Medicine of the highest quality. It isn't easy to come by. Seldom do elves reveal themselves to humans. Maybe you have some tie to the elves. And then it shows a picture that is just his eyes with his two pointy ears sticking out on either side. And I was like, oh.
How is this something the community doesn't talk about at all when it's spelled out for you fuckers? You're calling us crazy. All of you are calling us crazy for caring about the ears, and you're like, no one talks about the ears. And there's literally a panel that's like, hey, Guts, maybe you have tie to elves. Highlight pointy ears, highlight pointy ears.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, this is brilliant. We've said it before and we'll say it again. When you only have a certain number of people in a story with pointy ears, but then you have one race where they all have pointy ears, guys, that might be a thing.
Wait. The anime took away the pointy ears. Okay, so the anime's to blame again.
You know what?
I was starting to come around. Yeah, you go.
Anime's a problem. We need to just get rid of it.
Well, I was starting to come around to Team Anime because it turns out anime didn't have wyald, and they made the R-word scene horrific and all horror without any sexuality. Like there was no sexualization.
Which there shouldn't have been.
So I was starting to come around. But now I'm hearing that they don't have the ears, and I don't know. I don't know if I forgive them anymore.
And the thing is, it's right inside of the goddamn thing. Like, he literally just says out loud, maybe you have some connection to the elves. And then he goes, what? Even so, I suppose you have no desire to believe in destiny and such. He goes, yeah. So he's like, yeah, I think you might have a connection to the elves, but you don't have any desire to know about that or think about that. And he's like, yeah, I don't give a shit about that. Let's move on. And so I was like,
look, I'm hearing it.
It would also explain why Puck was so immediately attracted to Guts. Berserk.
Man, so yeah, the scene with the baby where in early births because it's been corrupted with demonic, that sure sucks. He scrambles away. Casca's pulled back inside. And once again, Kenny Boy is hurting us because he has Casca starting to get a little better over time, which is going to keep that hope more alive because now we've seen her get slightly better. So if we didn't...
Now you're like, oh, so she could heal.
Yeah. If we didn't see her get any better, we'd have a lot less hope, wouldn't we, Kenny Boy?
You know what I'm very worried about is that he's going to make her weak. She can never leave the mountain. She has to wait until Guts comes heals her.
I mean, I don't blame her for being broken at this point.
No. I mean, later on, like she heals.
Oh, yeah. She
goes through trauma. I would like to see Skull Dude meet up with her and be like, do you want to meet up with Guts so you can do a fight together? Yeah, the way she protects the thing was one of the grossest, most horrifying things.
It was so horrifying. Oh, God, that was upsetting.
I was the unhappy.
You know what fucked me up about it? Because it makes it feel like she can't trust anything anymore, but that's the piece of Guts she can still trust because, like, it was a piece of Guts he gave her when she could still feel, when she could still trust. It's like the baby represents the good, the future they could have had. And God, that makes it worse. Everything makes it worse, huh?
Yes. Makes it worse when you talk about it.
The thing is, we get to the one good part, the one happy, cool, awesome part of this entire reading section next, but we have to be so thorough because we don't want to leave it. We don't want to leave this zone once we go in. So we have to make sure we're not leaving anything behind.
The sword moment was so sweet.
The sword, it's so fucking sick.
I was so grateful. At first I was like, oh, I was hoping it was going to be like demonic or blah, blah, blah. And then I was like,
or legendary or something.
Yeah. And then I was like, no, it is so much better that it comes from this fucking dude. This one
and
doodly dude.
And it's so fucking fitting. Let's talk about the themes of Berserk. How fitting is it that in a series where we're talking about a core theme is that bowing to divinity is a weakness, that this was a blacksmith sick and tired of making impractical things. He wanted to make something with purpose as a young man, and as a sarcastic fuck you, when he's told by a king to make a sword that cuts dragons, he's like, you know, the only thing dragons are to you people is something that a man can't kill, so I'll make a sword a man can't lift. And that's his joke.
Yeah.
That's a bit. And it almost gets him killed, and he persists by pursuing his craft and making practical things.
Yep.
And
then along comes Guts and is like, but what if you could lift it? And he's like, are you shitting my donkey right now? Did you just lift unmovable lifting sword? Motherfucker.
It's just, it couldn't be better. I also thought it was going to be a cool demon blade from hell and that was going to be awesome, but this is way better because it should be human. That's the point. It should be made by a mortal.
And to have it be that like Zodd sword ended up being like meh, and this sword ends up being his like sword that he's going to fight against demons with human sword. And so I can understand why people aren't picking up on the fact that he might be elven and have elven connections, because you would want to believe that the whole point is that he's a human against devils because he uses a weapon that is for humans, made by humans.
Its whole point was it was a human-made weapon beyond human capability, and he just gutsed up and did it.
But I think that instead people should look at it as it's a sort of humanity, and that there are lots of elves who have humanity, and that it limits the word humanity to only think of that as being a human quality.
We'll see. I'm curious. I want to see more elves so that we can get into that, because I have to imagine Puck's not the only one we're going to have for the entire series. And I'm very excited to see what it means.
Non-shitty elf. It can't just be like, all the rest of the elves are shitty and Puck's fantastic. That would be fucked up. I'm not there for it.
We'll see what's up. God, the fact that it was built as a sarcastic joke is actually perfect. I wouldn't, having seen it, wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh no, it was brilliant. I was so thrilled with it. I was like, we deserve that. After the way you did us so dirty with so many things in here, we deserve this moment.
Can we also highlight how fucking awesome the blacksmith is?
He's one of my very favorite characters in this whole damn thing.
Yep.
You know Saturday Night Live, more cowbell?
Okay. More blacksmith?
More blacksmith.
Blacksmith rules.
Every time he comes on, I'm like, more blacksmith.
Dude, this section was hard. This was painful. But was it good?
That's an understatement. Is it understatement day? Are we in understatement day?
Okay, fair. More than painful, more than good.
The fact that Skull Dude named us the Strugglers, though? Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
to be named a struggler by the Skull Dude? I felt so
People were like, you'll know when you're a struggler. And I was like, okay. And then it came and I'm like, never mind. I know I'm a struggler now.
I was like, Skull Dude?
I was sarcastic, but I did know. I knew when I was a struggler.
Also, I agree that there was a possibility that the Skull Dude could be somebody who was like Guts from before.
From the way Chad has been acting, especially, it feels that way. I was wrong. He's not like Griffith. I'm glad he's a good boy because I like him. I'm happy to be wrong.
I really hope he doesn't ruin it for me. That's my hope.
Here's my new prediction. I think we are going to kill Casca, and I think it's not going to be until Guts has found another reason to keep living.
Ew, I'm not going to predict that yet. I just got through this. It was a lot. I'm going to give myself 5 minutes, but I am excited to keep reading now that I know that he's leaving Casca behind for a minute, so I don't have to think about all the trauma that was done to her.
Yeah, girl.
I'm really excited to just be like, Casca, and I feel bad saying this, like, your trauma's too much for me, but it is. I'm going to need a break from you. And I read it and then I sat there and was like, did I really just read the place that catches up to the prologue?
Yeah.
Fuck me. That's wild.
If I had a nickel for every time I got scared a little girl. Do we do closing segments on the show? Is that a thing we do in our program?
I'm going to say that Gut in this was S tier.
Yeah, like he was the best he's been so far. I feel so bad for our boy.
Ever been.
He struggled.
Yeah, he was literally the best he has ever been. Absolutely wildly good.
This is the final passing of the torch. He is fully the protagonist. He has been freed from Griffith's shadow.
Yeah. Now, as he's running through the world, whatever Griffith does, he is just the evil enemy.
Yep. Oh, sweet relief.
And I love that for us because I feel like even though Griffith doesn't know that he's in a story, I feel like it's just desserts for Griffith to be like, haha, fuck you. You're not as important anymore. You don't have the potential of being the lead.
Well, oh my God, wait, that's such a meta take. Think about it. Think about it. This is about him wanting to be the hero, wanting to have everything.
He was just de-heroized.
He can't be the hero. He's been de-heroized exactly because he took a shortcut to his goal. Rather than struggle, he sacrificed. Rather than struggle, he put himself higher.
And so from our perspective as the audience, in doing all the things he did, he just lost any chance of being the hero. And now Guts is the hero. Who is my very favorite character in this? I have decided it's Casca.
Casca's number one?
Yeah.
That is so painful, and you're right. And God, I love her, and I feel so bad for everything she went through in this section. But it's not like she didn't get good showings, too. She did so well in so many places.
Oh, she got a lot of showings. I'll tell you that right now.
God.
She got showed all over the place.
Okay. I hate that was really fucking funny.
Yeah, it was.
It sucks that was a great joke. I know you hate it, but I have to give Judeau number 2 because his death scene was literally perfect.
I hate him!
And
Kill him
I say that
again!
despite having now come to more understand your take on him. I think he's flawed and I still love him as a character. I think he's a great addition to the series. I think he does so much good for the story when he's in. But I've come around to seeing your point on him, that there's some toxicity in how he behaves. I actually agree with you a bit now. However,
I really appreciate it. I do see the struggle for him. I do understand why you appreciate him. But for me, it's just a toxicity that I personally find really reprehensible.
His death was so perfect, though. It was one of the best scenes here.
His death was excellent, and I really enjoyed him being dead.
Okay.
I get to choose the next one, and I'm going to choose Rickard.
Rickard for 3. This makes sense.
Yeah. Rickard is like, come on.
Okay, adding this bright orange swirl actually made this so much cooler. I was worried it'd be too much, but holy fuck, that looks sick.
It really did. It really did.
I
think you should even put a little yellow on that orange swirl.
I might. I think I'm gonna do a little bit more of the orange, and then I think I'm gonna try to add in a bit of yellow. God, that's sick. I feel so bad because Pippin, you look at the trend and you're like, Hawk solidarity, Hawks all the way down. We got to break the train. Skull Knight beats Pippin. I'm sorry, I love you, Pippin.
Oh, Skull Knight beats Pippin for sure.
Skull Knight, I'm here to save everyone.
I feel terrible about it. I'm going to put Pippin in there, but I prefer to put the blacksmith in, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just that Pippin is dead.
Honestly, I think we do the blacksmith. Honorable mention Pippin. You did more last section than this one. Last one, he got props.
I prefer in this section. I mean, dude made the goddamn sword.
Yeah.
I prefer blacksmith. Plus, blacksmith is the one who says to us, choosing your humanity over some giant goal of greatness is the thing that gives you the greatest life. Because look at his fucking life, hanging out there in Elf Kingdom, safe from the little bitches, until they showed up, by the way. Like, what the fuck was about that? But I was like, no, blacksmith all the way.
Because the cave is safe, but the outside isn't, I think.
The outside isn't, yeah.
And I want to say blacksmith also gave us something very important, which is knowing definitively that the robot hand Guts has is groovy.
Oh, that line... It's like, did we just say groovy?
Yeah, it's an Evil Dead reference, apparently, but I love it.
Oh, God. The Evil Dead, that movie lives in my head rent-free. I try to erase it, but I will never forget the morning that they come out of the house. Sorry, not they. She. Oh.
All right.
Okay, moving on.
Best drip, which is today's favorite monster because we have monsters.
Best drip is Skull Dude.
Skull Dude wins again for you? Okay.
Come on.
Guys.
Skull Dude. I got her naked breast chick.
No, you don't take my girl. I've got, don't worry, Slan's making the list. No, we have to do favorite minor character. It's the important segment that everybody loves. Moment of joy. I forgot we do moment of joy and tragedy.
My moment of tragedy was the multiple graping of my good great girl, Casca.
Yeah, that's a pretty good moment of tragedy.
Yeah, thank you. I thought so too.
Okay. Do I have to pick a different one?
No,
I actually know what my moment of tragedy is, and it was the realization that Casca was alive and still suffering, and we still have something to lose. That actually, oh God, that's hard. Did that hurt me more? I think Judeau's death hurt me more than that. I think Judeau's death is next, and then I runner up Casca surviving with brain damage.
What? Mine, I when Judeau died, I was like, haha.
Such a jerk.
That's
to
what you
Judeau.
get, dude. You want to know my moment of happiness?
What is it?
Why don't you go first?
Don't do the death of Judeau. We both know you liked the death of what's his better.
No, I do like the death of what's his better.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah.
Fair.
As much as it turned into something tragic, the scene with seeing what life could be like if Griffith gave up and just was a man was so touching. That was my moment of joy. Followed by Dragon Slayer.
Okay. My moment of joy is maybe you have some tie to the elves.
That's a pretty good one. Like, really obviously, from the way y'all are talking, it hasn't come up in the manga, but I'm telling you that at the end, you're going to be like, I can't believe he did this. Kenny Boy would never. And no, Kenny Boy would have.
Yeah, oh yeah, he would have, baby. Oh yeah, he would have.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. This was fantastic. Honestly, going over this, as much as the reading was painful, the going over it, really fun.
I'm so glad that we finished it because it ate my soul.
Can you imagine going through Berserk on your own?
No! Why would
Right?
you ever do that to yourself?
I just can't. You give me a number 1 to 23.
This game. For real.
For real?
I want number 7.
Number 7.
I get to thank Dr. GB. What does GB stand for?
Grand Blue. Dr. Grand Blue.
No, Dr. Good Boy.
Dr. Good Boy. Thank you, Dr. Good Boy.
Dr. Good Boy. Oh, God.
That's a normal name you have. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. We love having you. This was an absolute blast. And until next time,
I'm pain-free.
I'm Painkiller.
Squish on squish.
It's been lovely drawking to you. Bye, everybody.
I read the thing!
Oh, we
I'm
did
a
it.
person who read the thing.
Hell Cyclone. Every 300 years we get a finger. Hell Cyclone. I guess 300 years from now we have a new hand. Did we start another hand?